But I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Tuesday night. I'm calling it Taco Tuesday because every day should be Taco Tuesday. Shout out to Brett over there on Rockfin. Just trying to eat a little bit real quick before we start the show here. And yes, it is tacos tonight. What is happening? This is the show where we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. What are those things, you may wonder? Well, there's too much, so I'm going to have to sum up. Those things are aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. As you know, we do this show live to include you because you are the secret weapon of troubled minds. That's really what this has always been about, just having a conversation, just getting some good folks together and talking about ideas, talking about, well, what the future may bring, talking about the past and how, well, maybe it's related. Maybe there's a plan. Maybe there's not a plan. Maybe it's all just random BS and we're just supposed to figure it out as we go, sort of on the fly, right? Something like that. I don't know. I have no idea. But well, that's why these conversations really come in, because where they come in, because there's a lot of people that don't talk about this stuff. And when I say this stuff, it's a wide-ranging conversation talking about all kinds of different things, and that's intentional, right? It is pretty funny that the logo of Troubled Minds is the alien head and that whole bit, right there on the hat. Troubledfans.com. You can buy the Troubled Minds hat, but the alien logo, right? Like I said, some of my detractors would say, "Hey, what the hell? This guy talks about everything but aliens." Yeah, kinda, but also aliens sometimes, because I think it's a fantastic conversation. Just thinking about this stuff, just thinking about the possibility. Like again, just in terms of aliens, do you think they exist? Right? That's not the question tonight. That's not what we're talking about tonight. But that right there is just it's complicated, right? And as usual, like conversations can and should be complicated, in my opinion, because anything anymore is just binary straw man arguments. A and B, and if you think C, you're the enemy. You're a problem. You are against the establishment and the established ideas, and that means that you're a dirty conspiracy theorist. And I think there's a real war on what is becoming independent thought, right? And some people will say that conspiracy theory in and of itself is dangerous, right? It's dangerous to kind of go outside of the norms and the narratives of the mainstream. But if you've been paying any sort of attention, that the mainstream is full of a bunch of liars, literal liars that are just bought and sold in the bag and are trying to spin a narrative and tell us things that are not true or only half true, or they leave out pertinent details because they want to convince you of something that is not true at all. Brainwashing, of course, all the rest of that. Okay. And so to me, right, if I find myself sort of in a position of, I think that, let's say a position of the masses, right? And I agree with whatever's going on in the mainstream and the rest of that. It's time to stop and reassess. It's time to think. It's time to wait a minute. Do I believe this because I actually believe this, or do I believe this because the gaslighting that's going on and the pressure to believe the social norms, right? And I don't mean being grotesque and really, really sick stuff. Of course, murder is wrong and all the what I mean. I don't mean that stuff. I don't mean the sick stuff. I mean, it's okay to think outside of the realm of political possibilities, because if you don't, I don't know what the hell you're doing, to be perfectly honest. Lefty righty paradigms and all the rest of this, I just get so sick of it. Speaking of which, I'm digressing a little bit, but hey, it is a talk show, so I'm going to digress all the hell I want, right? As much as I damn well please. What about that Supreme Court stuff? What we're not going to talk about tonight, just like I said last night? We're not going to talk about the Supreme Court and abortion. How about that? We're not going to talk about that. It's because that's what they want us talking about, right? Here's a quick theory on that. If you guys, I was thinking about this today and talking to Mrs. Strange, and regarding this, the Supreme Court leak. All right, and like I said, I'm digressing a little bit before we get right back to where we need to be. But just indulge me for a moment, if you would. So regarding conspiracy theory, it appears that there was a leak from the Supreme Court regarding this sort of an internal memo on the Supreme Court of the United States, and in a, let's say it was a brief. It wasn't even really like a intentional gonna happen. This is on the docket. Regarding abortion, real quick, they've said that it's the hands off. They're not going to touch it. They're not going to really consider it. But I guess they did like an internal sort of mock sort of vote on this, and it turns out that they would actually have voted to overturn it, right? But in here, so here's the conspiracy, right? This is what I was thinking about this. In lefty righty paradigms, the lefties right now are getting slaughtered, in my opinion, especially in just in the zeitgeist, right? Because everything is kind of going bad. The inflation, the housing prices, everything just looks really, really ugly, right? We got a president who probably poops his pants a couple times a day, and it's ugly. All of it's ugly. And again, I'm not saying the last president wasn't ugly. That was ugly too, right? Like I said, give me a second. I'm going to give you my conspiracy theory here. Now, I think what's happening is I really don't think, I'll be shocked and I'll eat my words. I will eat this troubled minds hat. I will eat my hat if they actually do this, overturn the Roe v. Wade, right? The abortion stuff in the Supreme Court. I will be shocked. I think this is a political stunt to have something to talk about and campaign against over the course of the summer. So I think this is a setup. I think this is it's a leak. It's a big setup to take a hold of the narrative and say, look at all this scary stuff, right? This is what's really going on in the world we live in, right? So vote for us and this stuff won't happen, right? I think that's what this is. I think that, like I said, I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again, but that's my theory on that. Just like I said, we're not going to talk about it any more than that, and I just wanted to throw it out there as an example of the way I think that these news cycles are manipulated. And if they don't want us talking about gas prices, they don't want us talking about inflation, they don't want us talking about any of the stuff that's the housing prices, none of this. They don't want us talking about any of that because it looks bad. It looks like the captain of the ship is asleep at the wheel, right? And they don't want us talking about that. So the conspiracy here, in my opinion, and this is just my theory, nobody told me this. I was thinking about it myself. I think in the lefty-righty paradigm, what they're doing is leaking so they can rage against this machine and kind of turn the narrative around and say, look at all these evil bastards that are trying to do these things, right? I think that's what's going on. Anyway, like I said we weren't going to talk about it, then I talked about it, but I'm going to stop talking about it now. But anyway, so there's my digression, and that's my theory on that, all right? So anyway, we'll see if that shakes out. So my predictions, just real fast on that, nothing's being overturned at the Supreme Court regarding Roe v. Wade. Number two, it's a political stunt with a leak of this particular memo, which is a preliminary, by the way. It's not an actual plan thing in the Supreme Court. And I think they're trying to take hold of the narrative so they can call the bastards on the other side evil or whatever, right? Anyway, so yeah, misdirection. What's up, MJ? Exactly right. So, okay, so there's the theory. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. Off of that, I won't talk about that again tonight, I promised. Okay, so what we're doing is we're doing this live. This is a conversation, like I said, and it's a good thing. I think it's good to just kind of consider all of the stuff that's going on around us as a part of this political narrative, right? Everything seems to be centered and revolve around politics, and I just reject the notion entirely. I think there's a lot of very, very important things that happen in this world, in our reality, right? Our collective shared reality that people don't talk about, and so that's what we do on Troubled Minds, and we do it to include you. And that's my super, super long-winded way of saying that this is we have a secret weapon of Troubled Minds, and it's you. We have a phone number you can call, and you can reach the show at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. We'll put you on the show. And yeah, there we go. What else do we got? Let's see. We're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And I'm watching the chat in all those places, including the Discord. Discord, of course, is a chat client. It's a voice client. It's completely free, and you can download that, again, at troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link right on top. And also, please join the Fringe Discord, Fringe FM, great digital radio station, KTOKDB, digital broadcasting. And you can find that at fringe.fm/chat. That will give you a direct invite. I'm watching the chat there as well as everywhere else, and trying to incorporate your thoughts into the show as we go. Completely unscripted here. This is not, I usually have, sometimes I'll have like notes on a little notepad here. I didn't even take notes tonight. So there you go. Completely unscripted. Literally blank. My notepad is blank. But okay. So because the secret weapon is you. All right. We're going to talk about dreams tonight. That's where this is headed. And it is, like I said, I'm sorry. I apologize for the political digression there. It just dawned on me as I was thinking about it that's just it's just a thought, internet people. Hey, there you go. All right. So 702-957-1037. Also download the Fringe app at your favorite app store, whether that's going to be Android or Apple. It's completely free. It's the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds at 7 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Thursday. Just smash the play button on the Fringe app, and you'll get me, you'll get us, and you'll get this, whatever this is, whatever we're calling this. I like to call it the Great Conversation, but other people say some knucklehead on the internet with a microphone. And usually I say that too, so it's okay. All right, so what we're going to do tonight, check this out. We got a couple things happening. This one goes out to the Robert over there on Rockfin. Big time fan of the Troubled Minds, big time friend of mine, and he shared this in the Discord earlier today. And I had a couple ideas kicking around for some shows, right? But this one kind of caught me. I was like, okay, yeah, we got to talk about this, because this is terrifying. All right, this is from BigThink.com, and this is from May 2nd. Dream hacking. Is this the dystopian future of advertising? Subheadline: a team of scientists has warned that marketers seek to advertise in our dreams. Will our sleep be commercialized against our wishes? And that's what's going on with this. I think this is this is a terrifying thing, because we talk about control. We talk about controlling sort of not just the narrative and the zeitgeist. We talk about controlling people's minds, and these huge data sets with advertising and Facebook and Google and all the rest of this. I mean, their entire, let's say, shtick, their entire thing is to collect enough data so that they can read your mind, right? And know what you want before you want it. Okay, that's the whole idea of these huge databases. Again, Facebook and all all the rest of these guys. That'd be Google, Facebook, Twitter, all of the technocrats out there, the technocracies that are just collecting all our data points and trying to basically use them against us, right, to sell something. Well, in this case, this is a little more terrifying because we have these smart devices all over the house, right? We've got these Alexas, we've got our smartphones, we've got tablets, we've got even smart TVs, right? I mean, literally, pretty soon it's going to be like smart toasters and smart refrigerators, like I'm always joking about. You know, they're going to order you a new gallon of milk, and your toaster is going to notice that you're out of bread, you know, and order you a loaf of bread type stuff. Yeah, so I mean, that's what's coming. Okay, that's just talking in terms of technology, all right? But what about this? What about the idea of dream hacking and something known as, targeted dream incubation? Yeah, have you ever heard that term? Probably not, because troubled minds is usually on the tip of these things. Targeted dream incubation. That's what they're calling this, okay? So I got a couple questions for you tonight as we begin. All right, talking about this idea of advertising to us in our dreams, okay? Number one, do you think it's actually possible to control people's dreams through, let's say, some means, some sort of audio means, like let's say you're sleeping and like your Alexa just turns on very, very quietly, just enough to, just enough so you could hear it sort of in your dream state, your REM sleep as you lay there and you're, not whatever, you're sleeping, right? And it turns on just enough and it starts feeding you information about, I don't know, let's say breakfast sandwiches from a local fast food joint, something like this, right? So when you wake up, all right, let's say, and it does this for hours, like even 2, 3, 4 hours while you're sleeping. Let's say it does this, these smart devices, just because they know your sleeping schedule. They know your patterns, they know your behaviors, they know your weaknesses, they know the things you like because of these huge data sets, these databases with, again, Facebook, Google, Twitter, etc., and so on. So imagine, right, that these smart devices are smart enough to, again, not just manipulate us. We've talked about that in the past, how they are manipulating us with our own data that we're basically handing over for free. And then the second part, they're using it to sell us something. And we talked about this not too long ago with AI manipulating emotions for sales purposes, right? Sort of the Zoom, red light, green light, taking the temperature of a sales call through AI and reading facial recognition patterns, and if people are bored on a sales call, stuff like this, right? So the first question is, do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible to actually control people via their dreams, with maybe audio, or maybe with maybe some sort of other frequency, like a magnetic type frequency, or radio waves, or what have you? All right, number one, is it possible? Number two, if you, let's say that if this happens, and let's say you wake up and you do want said fast food breakfast sandwich, right? Because it's been sort of just dropped into your dream and dream state as you were doing your thing, most of the night. How do you differentiate? The second question is, how do you differentiate between what you want and what the advertisers want you to want? You see what I'm saying? It's like this really sick circle of things, meaning that they know our weaknesses. They know, if you like a particular fast food joint that you probably shouldn't eat and you go to once in a while, they know, right? The data points know this. They know they're tracking your location and all the rest of this. They know where you go. And so, then they start advertising this to you. So again, at which point do your bad habits solely rest on yourself as bad habits, or when the next thing happens regarding control of your dreams through advertising and the rest of this? The second question is, how do you know when your bad habit ends and the advertising brainwash begins? And that's what I want to know tonight. Those are the first couple questions to get us going. And this is pretty creepy. Like I said, okay, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. As always, you are the secret weapon of troubled minds. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. So number one, Is it possible to control people through their dreams through this? I'm calling it Dreamvertising, and I should probably trademark that. Put up a website called Dreamvertising, because it's going to happen, right? There's going to be a company called this, because it's coming. Is it possible, right? Number two, where do we draw the line, and how do we differentiate between our bad habits and advertising directly into our dream states, and really tell the difference between the two? So that's what's on my mind tonight. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. This is straight from this Big Think article. And again, shout out to the Robert over on Rockfin for sharing this in the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, please do. Lots of smart people over there, lots of kind people, lots of people just sharing ideas. And the only rule is just don't be obtuse. Don't be a bigot. Don't be obtuse, and don't pop in there and try and start fights. Like you can leave your ideas and discuss them, but yeah, it's simple. It's simple. Just don't be a punk. Here we go. This is straight from Big Think. Right now that our homes are littered with listening smart devices, and we are inseparable from our phones, it can seem like sleep is the only part of our lives that is off limits to marketers trying to influence us. But this blissful bedtime bastion may not hold out much longer. Last year, a team of 38 experts in the fields of sleep and dreaming signed onto an opinion piece warning that dream advertising is on the way. And we did talk about this briefly on the Troubled Minds News for just a moment, and sort of in the periphery of some other dream ideas shows that we did, but we never talked about this directly, and it's back in the news as of May 2nd, so let's do this. The article continues. It makes sense that marketers would seek to access our dreams. Warranted or not, dreams have special meaning for millions of people. Dreaming is when our brains can form strong associations. Quote, dreams are actual mechanisms that have evolved biologically to help us make critical decisions about how to lead our lives in the future. Robert Stickgold, a professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School, an expert in dream studies and lead author of this opinion piece, told NPR. And check this out. This is where it starts to get a little terrifying. The American Marketing Association, New York's 2021 Future of Marketing survey of 400 marketers from various U.S. firms found that 3/4 aim to deploy dream advertising technologies by 2025. 3/4 of them. That's 400 of them they did. So that's 300 out of 400 in a poll here, right? It says, but is this just typical marketing hype or a candid recognition of an approaching dystopian reality? And let's add that to the mix of questions as well. Is this real, or is this just some sort of hype that they're trying to sell us a bunch of BS and tell us it's coming when it may actually not be coming? So there you go. I see you, Joe. I'm going to actually wait till after the commercial. I don't want to pop you on and cut you off. So we'll get to Joe in Florida shortly there. Hang tight, my friend. And there we go. So you tell me, right? Crystal Shaman in the chat says, yes, when the body is in the delta state, there is vulnerability. And that's what I'm talking about, of course, regarding the dream state, regarding maybe some audio signal that comes from our Alexa device or maybe our smart television, when it notices that you haven't been actively watching, right? Anybody ever watch Netflix and it pops up and says, are you still watching? And you're like, yeah, man, I'm still watching here. Hey, I'm watching here, right? Well, there's that, right? But of course, because it knows when you stop, like changing channels, adjusting the volume. It knows when you've passed out. It knows when you like faded out. And so this is the point. So if that technology is already there, knowing that you nodded off or you're doing something else, you're not actually watching television or whatever it is you're doing, then how hard is it to just enable some sort of latent background noise that has subliminal marketing jingles? Yep. Well, or worse. Or worse. Sometimes things can get worse, can't they? So that's what's on my mind tonight. What about this idea of, Dreamvertising? Yes, I'm making up words again, but I do what I damn well please. And targeted dream incubation. We're going to get to that and exactly how this works and exactly what the hell's going on. But is this something you think we should worry about, or do you think this is just, again, another clickbait headline sort of thing? So that's what's on my mind tonight. What's on your mind? Like I said, hang tight, Joe in Florida. I see you there. We're going to come right to you as soon as we get back from the break. What do you believe? Dreamvertising, targeted dream incubation. Is it possible to not just influence our dreams, but to sell us something? You've all seen Inception, right? Yeah. Inception for products to change your mind. How sick is this? Love to hear what you think. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More targeted dream incubation, Dreamvertising, Joe in Florida, and your calls when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, D-Live, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're talking about the idea of Dreamvertising. Yep, I made that up. The word anyway. It's called, actually, targeted dream incubation. Do you think it's possible to actually control or influence people through their dreams, through audio, through some sort of frequency signal, maybe electromagnetism, I don't know, maybe a radio wave? Do you think this is a thing? They're saying it's going to be, and by 2025, they actually did a poll asking 400 advertising agencies if they were going to be into this, and three-quarters of them, a full 75%, said yes, and they're going to try and deploy and implement this stuff by 2025. Is this just more dystopian scare tactics, or do you think this is actually going on behind the scenes? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to Joe in Florida. Thanks for being patient, my friend. You're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead. How are you?
I'm okay. I went for 2 years. I wasn't on last week. I was a little bit ill. Went for 2 years without catching what everybody else caught. And I think I went out for a little bit too much over the weekend, last weekend, and had a little illness. It was gone in a day or two, but I was sleeping. I was hearing the show, and I just kind of been busy. But good topic. I think it's a good, realistic topic. I think the time frame is probably pretty accurate. For a joke, a terrible one, I'll tell you this. I've fallen asleep since I was a kid to Julia Child and Bob Ross, but it does not make me able to paint or cook.
Fair enough.
However, and if I go to sleep watching Stephen King's It, doesn't mean that I'm going to go to the Clown and buy some breakfast in the morning. With all seriousness, though, what I've noticed with myself, and I haven't read a book in a while. I mean, I've got Robert's book, so shout out to Robert, but I've got to dig into that when I get some time. However, when I do read books, for some reason, books tend to stick in my mind. So I'll dream that I'm in the book, or I'll have details of the book in my dream. Now, if I watch a TV show, and you see commercials and advertisements, none of that ever repeats in my mind, at least that I know of. However, the wife likes to go to sleep with the TV on. And I can't do that because sometimes I'll go to sleep and the TV will be on. And I'm not a great night sleeper. I'm like a night person. So I kind of just, it's periods of sleep on and off. But sometimes, occasionally, even though a book has more influence on my mind, sometimes I will hear the TV, I guess, and I will hear the advertisements, even though I'm too comatose to usually reach over to the remote and view something, if that makes sense. I'm kind of like in and out. And I think all of us have experienced, a waking sleep terror maybe, but not a sleep terror, but we're kind of in and out. We all have that stage. And maybe that influence, they'll know, and I'm going to tell you how, and I'm just kind of coming up with this. My wife has one of those health watches, one of those iWatch, whatever they are, the health trackers that track you, and it tracks your sleep. Right? So again, we've talked about this. We don't know where that information goes, if it gets farmed, just like our genetic tests. for 23andMe and all that. We don't know what's done with that. But most of us here that are listening to the show are smart enough to assume that it is feeding, again, some kind of data set and eventually an algorithm. So if that watch is telling my phone that I'm coming into the waking hours, I'm not really conscious yet, but I'm just kind of there, whatever sleep zone that is, maybe that phone could feed a frequency, because we keep our phone by the bed at night. Some of us do, some of us don't. And we might get up having an urge for something, like you said. The thing that it kind of bugs me is, how would we ever know? So, like, if I get up and I'm like, I want to go to this restaurant for breakfast, or I want to go to this restaurant for breakfast and have the runs, or I want to go eat sawdust here or something here, how would I know that I was influenced or not? It's kind of really, really intrusive. You almost need to go to sleep at the Faraday cage. Because all of this stuff that we've talked about is electronic. It's akin to, I wouldn't say warfare, but almost harassment, if that makes sense, electronic harassment.
Yeah, you know what's actually interesting about that? You say harassments. There is a something on the books law-wise, where you can't, for bill collectors and like harassment and things like this, where, you can't call after particular hours. You're not supposed to harass people. They do anyway, right? But, because they're slime balls and they use fake names. And anyway, I digress there a little bit. But the point is that I wonder if in the future, let's say it's a non-dystopian future, that if Congress actually gets off their butt and does something, they make this type of stuff actually illegal. I mean, that would be amazing, right? Like, because it is harassment, isn't it? It would be a targeted dream incubation as harassment, in that all your smart devices know when you're going to go to sleep, when you're waking up. They're really locked into your schedule. So I wonder, right? Can you see like our Congress pulling their heads out of their posteriors long enough to actually say, wait a minute, this is a bad thing, and we should probably outlaw this and make it a crime? You see that happening anytime soon?
No, because how would we ever, aside from the obvious that everybody's bought and paid for, I don't care what side you're on, aside from the obvious of that, how would we ever know? You understand? I mean, this is, egregious, I guess, because how did we ever know that our DNA information was being sold until a whistleblower or somebody came out? You understand? So again, how would we even know this is being used against us? It's like surveillance. That's basically what it is. How do we ever know that we're being surveilled against? But we know we are. We know we are. But, if I say something and my phone gives me an ad, if I'm looking up contact lenses for costumes and I get an ad, okay, I'm fine with that, right? But I've also signed those electronic waivers when I bought that phone, right? When I buy this phone full of bloatware, somewhere in that agreement, I probably agreed to have advertisements sent to me. It would be such a legal mess to get that pitched in the favor of the public that it would never. I think that they're going to have bigger problems to handle, than to do this. God forbid. This is something that. And here's the other thing. I mean, getting political. This is something that would benefit everybody. But they just want to play their divide and conquer game. So this would be on the back burner. I mean, without a doubt, you would be on your own. But I don't know what they would advertise. What would I get up in the morning wanting? A new car, like you said, a Hot Pocket. Ooh, Hot Pocket. Cream of wheat.
Well, no.
But I guess that's
coffee. You'd want
that's
coffee.
What advertisers get paid for.
Yeah, exactly, to find out exactly what that is. So you're going to wake up in the morning, you're going to want a particular coffee. So I could see kind of coffee jingles, maybe, who knows, maybe dreams of that new sports car or whatever, right? The old midlife crisis sports car, right? But then as you get closer to waking time, maybe those audio profiles of the targeted dream incubation shift to coffee, coffee brands in particular or something, right? I mean, I could see that stuff totally happening because you probably drink coffee in the morning. I certainly do. So I wake up and I need coffee, and that's that. And if you get in my way, we got a problem. I got to get to the coffee first, right?
Well, I drink coffee when I want to get out, when I really want to get out of meetings. That's when I drink coffee, because it usually just hits me and I'm like, I gotta go, and that's it. But how about this though? If they're going to use it for advertising, why couldn't we use it to learn a language? You know, how many of us have probably stuck on a math problem or some kind of an issue, and we've come up with a solution? Like, you literally were like, I got to walk away from this, and you go to bed, and you wake up, and we've talked about this. I mean, and Eureka, the ideas in your dreams, but you wake up and you have clarity, and you remember it. So, I mean, shame on them if they could do this for advertising. Why couldn't they do it so I can learn Mandarin or so I can learn Russian? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Would that be worth it to you, I guess?
Yeah, well, I think as with anything, technology can be used for good things and it can be used for bad things. And right, they want money, right? They want the money. They want you to buy their coffee brand or whatever the hell's going on, right? And I think that's part of all this. Is it's like always the fight for the dollar, right? It's and again, we look at ethics and we look at how these companies have behaved in the past, including the technocrats, like we always talk about Facebook, Google, Twitter. They're collecting our data to use against us. So at some point, this makes perfect sense to me that this is going to just click in, and all our smart devices are going to know, and they're going to pay particular attention to our downtime, right? Because our downtime is probably when we're sleeping, right? And so they're going to just go, yep. Well, all right, here's where we're going to just sort of pump in the audio and make Joe in Florida wake up craving a particular brand of coffee. This is coming, bro. I think it's inevitable with just the way things have been so far.
I don't know. I mean, it might have me wake up wanting a particular type of sex robot. I don't know. And my wife will be like, what'd you order in the mail? And I'd be like, I didn't order it. It just happened. It came in overnight.
It wasn't me.
You know, I'd be like, that's not mine. That belongs to the neighbor. That would be it. But yeah, I mean, it's like you said. And then what happens if you go to, like, let's say it's the metaverse and you fall asleep with the goggles on? How are they going to advertise? So yeah, I mean, they've got us like mice in a cage, and that's just, it's terrible. But before I go, let me say a shout out, cover everybody on Roxanne, Adonna, Robert, Ron, Crabapple, everybody over there. Like I said, I was listening last week, and I just was too tired, so I was going to bed early and things, and I've got some changes. It looks like I'm going to be taking another position with a different company, so there's been a lot going on here. There's a lot of instability, but I'm thinking it's going to clear up, which is going to get to another story if you do anything on the Matrix. I don't know if you have any shows on that coming up late soon, but if you do, I'll be listening into that because I've had some Matrix moments every day. On that note, everybody have a good night, and I look forward to the calls.
Appreciate it, bro. Feel better. Keep on the mend, and good luck with the new gig. Talk to you soon. You're the best, bro. That's Joe in Florida, a good friend of mine, and a good friend of the show's. As you know, he's a funeral director out there in Florida, and he's a good guy to know for a number of reasons. One, because he's a good guy. Two, because it's not every day you get to talk to somebody that's sort of in those professions that I like to call the part of the invisible process, right? All kinds of things happen all the way throughout the world that nobody really thinks about, and then, well, they're still happening. There are people actually doing these jobs. It's like the troubled minds version of dirty jobs, right? But anyway, looking to hear your thoughts on this. Dreamvertising, right? Targeted dream incubation. That's the actual term for this. I did look up Dreamvertising on Google Domains, by the way, and somebody already has Dreamvertising.com. So what does that tell you? I thought I made that up. Somebody else got it before I even thought about it. And so that means .net is available, and I may get that. 702-957-1037. Do you think Dreamvertising is possible? How possible? Do you think it's a bunch of BS? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's go to Robert in Pennsylvania. What's up, Robert? Welcome to Troubled Minds. What's on your mind, my friend? Go right ahead.
I was just going to suggest to you, since you thought that you had created this new word, to quickly go and buy a website and put that name on it, because this whole business of dream advertising, like you're suggesting, is probably inevitable. So I thought you'd be ahead of the game if you bought the website, and then you could sell it for like a $500,000 later when the corporations that start offering this service or forcing this service need the website.
You got it. There actually somebody already did that. I'm checking right as Joe was talking. I checked real quick. Dreamvertising.com is being sold at aftermarket value already for $2,300 for the domain. And supposedly this hasn't even happened yet.
Note the difference. You said dream advertising, and your word is dreamatizing.
Correct.
Dreamvertising. So that's a little different, and that's probably the one that's going to stick. So I'd still buy that website and put Dreamvertising on that.
All right. I'll do it. None of you guys beat me to it because I'll be super mad. So you think this is possible? You think it is actually inevitable? You were the one who shared the article. What are your thoughts on this whole Dreamvertising idea?
Well, it starts off with what do we get out of it? In order for them to pull this off, we have to get something out of it. All right, just like the TikTok and social media influencers, I get something out of it. They get rewarded for promoting this or promoting that. All right, if we're they can't just force themselves into our dreams. They have to make it an incentive for us to allow them to do that. And I'm thinking, like I said in an earlier chat, that with the robots taking over all of our jobs, our old jobs, this might be one of the new ones, where we have what's called dream jobs. Everybody wants a dream job, all right, where these advertisers actually pay you to allow them to infiltrate your dreams.
Yeah, it'll be a whole new industry. I think you're right. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's all right. Like for example, your first dream starts to roll around, and it's sponsored by Pfizer. it opens up that way. This dream is sponsored by Pfizer.
That's going to be a good dream. It's going to have dragons and giant cobras in it. It's going to be great. That's going to be a great one. Thanks. You're going to give me nightmares now, Robert. What the hell, man?
Well, here's the worst nightmare. And we're into that now. 24/7 all over TV is all these political ads. When that starts, every political season, and you're being paid to allow these doggone idiot politicians to fill your whole night with nothing but one political dream after another, ad after another. I mean, that's where the horror comes.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. So not only that, then back to the question regarding brainwashing and all the rest of this stuff. How do we know when we wake up in the morning, like how much of us, like Joe was describing, is, sort of how the term is sleep on it, the answer will become apparent in the morning, right? Well, how do we know how much of that is like the natural process and how much of that has been wrestled away from us and turned into, well, go buy this brand of coffee, right?
Well, the thing is that they're not going to be able to do it without our permission. All right, that's what I mean. They have to compensate us. For example, remember years ago there was a big to-do about subliminal messages in commercials? And there was big congressional hearings on it, and they outlawed subliminal messages on commercials.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that. That actually happened?
Oh, my goodness, yes. Oh, well, you're a young man. I lived through it. All right. Yeah, they were putting subliminal messages on TV advertising and on radio advertising. You didn't really catch it, consciously, but it would leave an idea in your subconscious. Let's say it's Marlboro cigarettes. All right. You would not be able to detect it in the commercial consciously, but it's there. It's it's a special. I forget how it's done. You'll have to Google subliminal message. You'll see how it was done. I can't remember.
Sure.
But they were doing that, and then the Congress had to. There was such an uproar about it that the Congress had to have special hearings and laws were passed to outlaw. That's why there's no subliminal messages in commercials to this day. And I'm saying that this is not that different, because really, whatever if you got an advertiser invading your dreams, that's a subliminal message. That's going into your subconscious. And that would not, there's no way that any government's going to allow that. I don't care how much the graft they get, who supports them, who gives them money. There's no way that that's going to be allowed to happen. And the only way that it's going to be allowed to happen if it's voluntary, and the person that allows these types of ads into their dreams is compensated in some way.
Well, of course they will. That's how the political system works. We know this. I mean, they hand the money over to the campaign donations, and then they go, well, let's make the law so that it actually favors the advertisers and not the actual individual. And then boom, rinse and repeat, and pretty soon, well, this is a thing. And I think that's why it's unfortunate that it is inevitable. It's just how bad is it going to get? I think it becomes the question.
Well, it can't. Again, if people have to volunteer to do it. This is like with Facebook. All right, you get something by volunteering, by going on Facebook, becoming a Facebook poster or whatever, or member or whatever. You get your data is sold, but you're agreeing to that in order to use the service. So you're getting a service for allowing them to sell your data. All right. A lot of people didn't know they were agreeing to that, but that's what basically was. It was an understanding. That's the same with dreams. Any advertising in your dreams, you would have to be getting something for that. They can't just do it. You have to agree to it. All right, and there's no way anybody's going to agree to this without some kind of bribe to allow that.
Yeah, you're correct. Sorry, I muted myself. Sorry about that. But you're correct. But true. But what they do then is they slip it in. It's like with the smart TVs. When you set up a TV these days, when you first get it, it says, do you want to turn all these things on? Because if you don't, this device won't work as intended, right? And it's got this 800 pages of like stuff, right? Nobody reads 800 pages. They go, oh yeah, I want to make sure it works the way it's supposed to. And you say yes, 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 yes. And then that agreement is forever changing. So the one you agreed to when you first bought the TV is now completely way different from what it is now. And they don't ask you every time they update it, right? They just keep updating it, and you agreed once, and that's that. I mean, it's part of the game. It's part of the dirtiness.
How many people knew that some years back that their smart TVs picked up the conversation that was going on in your room, in your living room?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Smart TVs were picking it up, and they were selling that, I guess. I don't know what they were doing with it, but they were basically spying. As a matter of fact, wiretapping, and that's what I would call it.
That's what it is.
That they're not allowed to do that anymore. I'm not sure. I should have to follow up on that. But look at yourself. All right, this is the job, your dream job. All right, 10 years ago you wouldn't have imagined this. All right, but this is your dream job. All right, this is something that replaces some other job that you used to do. All right, that probably the robots are going to be doing, or self-driving trucks. All right, but you're ahead of the game. All right, you're ahead of that. You're doing this, and you're getting compensated for it.
Finally,
right? Not in all platforms, but in enough of them that it's worth your while.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The dreams. You're going for a break?
Yeah, we got to about 30, 45 seconds for you.
Okay, one real quick then. The dream sponsorship is something that's an employment opportunity in the near future, and you have to agree to it, and you get paid to allow them to do it. That's my position.
There you go.
I'm going to let you go to break.
And we'll sell it on dreamvertising.net. Robert, you're the best. Have a fantastic night. Thanks for the call. Thanks for listening. All right, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. That's Robert in Pennsylvania. He's got a book called Stories from a Fractured Mind, the Robert Collection. Check it out. Links in the description down below. What are your thoughts on dreamvertising, targeted dream incubation? How far does this go? Is it going to be, as Robert suggested, a voluntary thing? Or do you think they're going to be a little more sneaky than that? This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More dreamvertising, targeted dream incubation, and your calls when we return. Be right back. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon. Aliens.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
We got, all right, so maybe,
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Tuesday night, Taco Tuesdays, I'm calling it. Don't tell me that's a trademark. And we're talking about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. What are those things, you may wonder? There's too much, so I'm going to have to sum up. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. We're taking your phone calls tonight as we discuss the idea of dreamvertising. That's right, targeted dream incubation. What the hell does this mean? How far does this go? And, well, how can we protect ourselves? Love to hear your thoughts on this. We're taking your phone calls as we stream on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. We'll put you on the show. We're broadcasting on the Fringe FM. I think I said that. All right, let's go. Daryl, you're making noise. Let's go to Daryl in New York. Welcome to Troubled Minds. Are you there? Test 1, 2.
Hi there, Michael. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool. All right. Great topic. Love the call so far. It's been really interesting. I was thinking, that's a lot of control over your life, basically, if they start infiltrating your dreams. And, what if it could make you vote for somebody that you don't even like a politician, that they could start invading your dreams, or they could erase your memory of history, totally change your sexual preference or change your political preference or make you quit your job or, make you become a criminal or make you make stupid decisions, create some kind of, sex addict, drug addict, maybe wake up thinking you want to get your breasts enlarged. What if you get somebody else's dreams? What if it makes you start listening to, David Wilcock or act like a chicken, like a hypnotist, or give away all your money or join a Hare Krishna or get a different religion, And what if some like 12-year-old can hack your dream, you know, and you'll start having like really adolescent type of dreams, you know, or you're going to get a dream that's sponsored by Donald Trump or, you know, and Pfizer.
Peter Pan. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're spot on. Are you there? I lost. We lost the hiss. Whatever happened. Okay. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No, I'm with you, and I think that's an interesting way to put it. Right. We all remember the Max Headroom incident of the '80s, right? When the actual over-the-air TV antenna got hijacked by actual people that either appeared to I don't think they took over the studio. I think they hijacked the actual line and sent out a broadcast to local TV in Chicago. And so, well, if that's the case, you're completely right. In this Dreamvertising scenario, what if somebody did the exact same thing, right? We're talking about hackers and identity theft and spyware and all this garbage that's going on today. What if the next step is actually hacking that system and making, I don't know, like you said, making you wake up and crave Cuban cigars the moment you wake up, and you've never smoked a cigar in your life? I mean, who knows?
Right, you start smoking, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. This type of stuff is a little bit frightening, right? Kind of giving it its druthers and just let it without any sort of intervention or on our part, or let's say legislation to stop it. I think this is dangerous. I think this is one of those ones that nobody's talking about yet, of course. So we're always the first to talk about this stuff. But once the zeitgeist catches up with this, it'll probably be too late. It may be a dozen years from now. But hey, what can you do, right? And so the question becomes, Daryl, for you, is at what point do we sort of disassociate the difference between our own waking thoughts and sleep on it, you'll feel better in the morning, or the next step of, well, I've changed my mind about the way I live because of the Dreamvertising. Pretty terrifying that you might not be able to tell the difference, right?
That's very scary. And what if you get somebody else's dream? There was a mix-up in the database, and you start getting the guy in another city's dream, or you get someone of the wrong sex's dream, or they start advertising the wrong things to the wrong people, and you can't afford that car, but you buy it anyway, and you don't even drive. I mean, all kinds of stupid decisions. You just start sleeping with sailors whose names you don't know. Whatever, anything. You might get somebody else's dream. They might have a mix-up with the advertisement, or they didn't pay their bill, or they were on Facebook and then they left and went to Twitter, and there's a conflicting thing with the the algorithm. Suddenly you're getting double dreams, and then you're just so confused when you wake up, you don't know who you are. And maybe they can erase your memory. You won't even remember what to buy.
Exactly.
You won't even, you don't even know what money is. What the hell? Where do I go to work? Maybe I should quit my job.
Well, you'll have by that point you'll have Elon Musk's robot doing the work for you, so it's making your money. So Matt in California in the chat says, then you would wake up and have 50 items in your cart. Exactly.
And you're all in the line for the 10 items or less checkout, and everyone's mad at you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it is a terrifying notion, right? We talk about brain control, mind control on this show a lot, in forms of MK Ultra, targeted individuals, things like this. But I think this is a whole new level of terrifying because it can be so subtle, while we're sleeping. And like I said, if anything, these data points are collecting against us to use against us, because that's what they're doing. They will know. Again, your downtime is super easy to track, right? They can, like I said, if they know when you're in the bathroom crapping, and they probably do, they definitely know when you're sleeping, right? And that's the worst part. Where does it end? Do you think that there's a way to protect ourselves here, Daryl? I
don't know. I think there's so much control, and they want so much control over every activity we do, and these kind of digital identities, and because it's just going to be, there's no end to the control. I mean, God only knows what they can do, make you do. They can make a society of just really compliant people, and we won't even know that we're being manipulated. yeah, it's very scary. I think it's got to stop already. Enough. You know, for all we know, it's happened already. You know, and we can't remember. We don't remember. Why do we have this recurring dream about something? You know, suddenly we have recurring dreams that we had no idea about. Like, where did that come from?
Exactly. What's up? Jennifer in the chat says, I've had 3 dreams with Donald Trump in them. Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
no.
They don't. Yeah, exactly. That's the last thing anybody needs in their dream is any president, former, past, or future even. I mean, holy smokes. Yeah, I don't know.
We have, like, you know, like competing candidates or competing companies, you know, that want you to invest in their, you know, brand, and you know, you like Hostess, but then you like Drake's, and I don't know, you don't even know what you like anymore. Like, are you really even like making your own mind up? What happened to free will? You know, what happened to Free Willy? I mean, God, what movie are you going to see? You know, you don't even like horror movies, but you're going to see them anyway. You know. I mean, it's just unbelievable how far it can go, and when will we lose our consciousness over this? Is this like a control of your consciousness? That's very scary, you know. And I think once we lose that, we lose our humanity, I think.
Yeah, exactly. When you don't know where the motivations come from, I think that's the most terrifying part. Especially when, like, you know, like when we all have those moments in our lives when we're like, you know what, I'm going to do this better, right? Like, you make up your mind and you're like, you're just emphatic about it. You're like, this, that, or the other thing. Like, I'm done with that. I'm on to this, you know. And like, there's those moments in your life where you turn a corner, or you know, drop the bag of weights you've been carrying around or whatever, right? And you made up your mind in that moment to like change and be different for yourself for the future in a good way, right? Everybody has these life moments where things happen and you make decisions for yourselves. But then also, what if those decisions aren't even yours? That's where it starts to get really like, oh no, let's hope this isn't the case. Yeah, I don't know.
You know something? I want to say something for the women out there. I don't know if you know what like retail therapy is, but I love shopping. I don't need any incentive to shop. I love shopping for anything. It doesn't even matter what it is. I can enjoy the whole, you know, process of, you know, price checking and checking out what's on sale and going to the clearance rack, and just shopping is such a it's almost like it's exciting, you know. It's like sex almost, you know. It's addictive, shopping. And why would they have to manipulate me to shop? You know, I shop like naturally. I'm a natural born shopper, you know.
Well, no, it's not. It's not that. It's not that. So they know that, like, you know, they have the numbers for like the entire economy regarding retail shopping. Okay, they have a number. But what happens is the fight becomes a market share fight for those retail dollars spent on a yearly basis, right? That's what happens. So it's not about the money's going to be spent. And I'm with you. A lot of people like to shop. It's agony for me. I can't do it. I'm like, give me the fastest thing and get me the F out of here. And if I have to overpay, fine. I'm gone. I'm not going to stand here and do this. It drives me insane. Like probably a lot of men. But I'm just like, you know, get me out. Like I want to have it set up. I want to make sure it's there in stock before I go, and when they have it, I'm like in and I'm out. I can race you. I promise you, I can probably be in and out of a store in like 90 seconds if they don't hold me up. I'm fast. I'm fast.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I could just, if I have the time to shop, I just enjoy the hell out of it. I really do. I love to have like a half hour to kill shopping, you know. I have nothing to do. Let me just go shopping. You know, it's not like I can always afford something. So it doesn't matter, though, because I can always find a bargain. It's like looking for that bargain that will make you happy, you know, buying that new, like, $2 shirt at Jack's. I mean, I found, like, new, I just love shopping. I don't know. It's just something that I adore. So, you know, it would be hard. I would wonder if I started paying retail, though. That would make me very concerned, you know, if they changed my shopping habits, that I'd start spending, like, you know, stupid money on stupid things that I could have saved on.
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that.
Then I know something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong there, you know.
Exactly. So great stuff as always, Daryl. I appreciate it. We got Night Stalker behind you. We're going to keep on rolling here. You are welcome to stay right where you're at. Just go ahead and mute up your microphone, pretty please, and stay right there, and we'll keep on listening. Daryl here in New York, good friend of mine, good friend of the show's. Check her out. She's got a YouTube channel. Links in the description below. She sings in English and French, and has stuff on Morgellons and other interesting things on her channel. Give her some love, and check out the link in the description. Daryl in New York. All right, let's do it. Keep on trucking. We're talking about dreamvertising, targeted dream incubation. How far does this go? Do you think that this is one of those moments where you wake up and change your mind about something, and we need to be suspicious of what the TV or our smart device was doing while we slept? Love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts. Welcome, the Night Stalker, to Troubled Minds. How are you, brother?
Hey, Mike. Great show tonight.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, man. Thank you.
Beautiful.
What are your thoughts?
I got a few quick thoughts here. I'm not sure if it'll be... Well, I think this is probably already happening. And I don't think they'll be like so overt as to hit us with like McDonald's ads or hit us with like ads for like actual brands, that they might use symbols to get us to like associate these symbols with the brands. So this came up like a year ago, I think, or something like that. I was co-hosting on Joe's show, and we were talking about it, and I brought up Coors Light and how like Coors Light wouldn't toss like a logo, like a Coors Light logo in your dream, but they might put some kind of like crisp, cool water flowing, or some mountains that they always show all the time, like those blue mountains that are associated with their cans and that kind of stuff, so that when you see them, when like you'll have a dream of this like crisp Adirondack mountain range and these like same as like Poland Spring or that kind of stuff with like bubbling brooks and that kind of thing. So when you get to the aisle, get to the beer aisle, get to the water aisle, then you won't even know that you'll be like more inclined to pick the Coors or pick the Poland Spring because it's just kind of subliminal. Like synchronistically, after I mentioned that, like when you brought up the dreamvertising, I was doing some Google searching real quick, and there was an article from July where like Coors was actually talking about the dreamvertising thing, and I was like, "What the hell? Are they listening to the show, or what the hell's the deal with that?" But yeah. So I think it's probably already happening, and they're probably using these kind of like symbols that we'll see in the dream. And like, as far as how they're going to do it, I think they could use, like during the news show yesterday, you were talking about that some type of frequency or beam or whatever that could lower anxiety. And we were talking about how like if they can lower anxiety, they can definitely increase anxiety, probably using the same technique and just like kind of reverse it. So what if it's something like Big Pharma, where they'll just hit us with some kind of beam, some kind of frequency, and we'll wake up just extremely anxious. We won't know why, and then we'll go to the doctor and we'll get some kind of new pharmaceutical. Like, we don't think about it that much in America, but Big Pharma, they don't advertise in other countries. Like, there are no commercials or like billboards or like bus ads for drugs in Europe. That doesn't exist, and they find it really weird that like almost every block of commercials we have is like kind of especially the news, like this is bad, this is going to kill you, this is bad, and then wait for after the break, and the first commercial is are you anxious, are you scared, like take this new drug, you know? So that's type of stuff. Like, they could hit us with and just make us have the conditions that would want their product, which I think is definitely possible. And then in addition to like the frequencies or specific like direct targeted content, like targeted things while you sleep, like what Joe was talking about with the Faraday cage, I think that's a good idea, and I think it's definitely possible, but they might not even need it. They might figure out dreams. They might figure out like how like sigils work. So it's very similar to sigil magic, where they can just kind of hit us with images that are meaningless throughout the day. Like walking down the street and how many different pictures or different ads you'll see. Walk down a supermarket aisle, just every image on the box is like going somewhere in your subconscious. So like we don't know necessarily the full capacity of dreams. We don't know fully what they're doing, but on one level, they are just kind of digesting and making sense of the subconscious things that our brain didn't directly pick up, you know? So kind of like clearing your brain cache, you know, of all like the extra cookies and stuff. So what if they figure out a way to combine symbols? Like you'll walk by some mountain at like 2:00, and then you'll walk by, then you'll like some pop-up will come up with some random image on your computer, none of it really mattering. But then when your subconscious combines all these things together in the dream state, the combination of these, like an incantation, it creates a new image. It forms the advertisement in your head. So even if you are in a Faraday cage, they still got you. You know, how can you protect yourself from all the images you see all day unless you just hide yourself in your room all day, or wear like those horse cone things, those dog cone things, you know, those blinders.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm out of breath. So what do you got?
No, that's fantastic, actually, and I think you just spawned an idea for a show in the future here regarding sigil magic and sort of this digital world like the metaverse. But if we're talking sigil magic, and this is coming soon to a Troubled Mind show near you, what about those QR codes? So maybe that is the sigil magic actually happening, but it's so indecipherable to us because it's not human language. It's sort of like a matrix type language, the green code on the screen, right? That if you can't read it, you can't read it. But that crap is all over the place. Matter of fact, quick story, the missus and I went down to one of the new casinos down here to check it out in Vegas, and it's called Resorts World. Beautiful casino. It's kind of a North Strip a little bit. Not in a bad area. It was really nice. We pulled up to this place, and up on the side of this like huge ass building, the hotels and everything, right? They have literally in lights on the side of the building a gigantic QR code as we're pulling into this thing. I was like, look, do you see that? That they want us to point our phone at that. Nope, don't do it. Don't do it.
And they do look weird too. Like they do look if somehow all the humans just we just vanished, or 1,000 years passed and some aliens come by or whatever, they'll think that these QR codes were some type of magic sigil or some type of Solomonic key or some kind of crazy thing that we're using to use magic. You know, it's definitely out there. Kind of like with the subconscious thing, with the sigil stuff. Like I've never practiced magic, but I think the idea behind sigils, or one usage of sigils, is to like make an image or make like a phrase or something that you want, a goal, and then kind of like in some instances you like remove all the vowels from that phrase, and it creates this like kind of nonsense phrase. And they say kind of to put it like in your car or put it somewhere just out of view, so it's hitting your subconscious, but it's not actually registering. And after a while, you might even forget what that word means. But the kind of like having it directly hit your subconscious is what actually makes it have its power. So recently, like, you know, on your car radio, they'll have the name of the song or the name of the station pop up on the radio, like on the little screen you have in your car, depending on the car. Yep. Recently, this one station I listened to, Jimmy 94.5, Boston, shout out DJ Pup Dog, but they stopped putting an advertisement for accident insurance or for like car accident stuff, and I absolutely hate it. I can't stand it. I'm close to calling the station and being like, "What are you doing? I can't turn this ad off. You have this ad running," and it just said, at some points it just says the word accident as I'm driving, and I don't want that in my subconscious. That's sigil magic. That'll if I get in an accident, my first thing I'm going to blame is this word to say accident right outside my peripheral vision on the radio. Like I don't want that kind of stuff. So just that type of thing. If they figure out how to combine these symbols to make images, to make dreams, that's what they'll do, and they won't even need. They can do that with like. If an EMP hits and the power goes out, they can still affect our dreams. I know we're running out of time, but if they can affect our dreams, if they can put images in our heads to sell as products, then clearly they can put images in our heads as just regular psychological warfare. So the idea of being trapped in a dream and having some nightmarish, like hellscape images being beamed to you, a dream can last much. You can be in a dream and think you spent 40 years in there if you're stuck down there, like Inception style. So that's terrifying to me. Like, say I have some kind of nightmarish images being beamed into my head, or whatever. But do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I think it's already happening? Probably. I think they'll probably do it before they tell us they're doing it. And I think it'll be very subtle. Like we won't just be trying to avoid McDonald's arches. It's going to be like much more complex and nuanced and not great, but I'm rambling, out of breath. Great show, Mike. Awesome stuff.
I appreciate it. Won't that be terrifying when, like, in your dream, it's Cthulhu clowns, but it's like a McDonald's commercial?
Exactly. That's what they'll do. Yeah.
That's what they'll do. Derek, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call. Always a pleasure. Derek here in Massachusetts tonight, Stalker. He's got a YouTube channel. Please check it out. Links in the description. He's got a trailer there. Let's inspire him to do more content. Brilliant dude, always on point here. And links in the description. Please give him some love. 702-957-1037. What do you guys think regarding Dreamvertising? How's this going to look? Is there any way to escape this? And well, I don't know. We're going to get to that Coors thing that he was talking about. That's actually a study that's been done. They were giving away 6-packs and 12-packs to get people to inject Coors into their dreams. Yeah, Coors, like the beer. Can you believe that? I can't. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds, Dreamvertising, and Targeted Dream Incubation when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're taking your phone calls as we discuss this idea of dreamvertising. Targeted dream incubation. Is it possible for an advertiser to send a jingle to you through your maybe smart device, Alexa, through your tablet, through something, when they notice you've fallen asleep? Well, what if it suddenly becomes aware? Not maybe aware in the singularity variety, but aware from the algorithmic variety that you're asleep and you need to be manipulated. And it starts playing some sort of, well, I don't know, music or some other thing that makes you think about maybe the Rocky Mountains, maybe some water flowing and an ice-cold beer. I don't know. What do you think? Is it possible you can actually influence or control people's thoughts and let's say, intentions in the next morning through their dreams and this idea of dreamvertising? Yeah, I made that up. It's actually called the scientific term, and this is being patented and tested and all the rest of this. It's called targeted dream incubation. Yeah, right? Like, how terrifying is this? And so the questions tonight: do you think it's possible, number one, to actually, through targeted dream incubation, really make people, let's say, what would you say, influence them to buy things that they may not buy, or different brands, maybe get them off of their brand type of thing? Or the second thing becomes, how do you know the difference between your own decisions and the decisions of this targeted dream incubation in the morning? And I think that's the most terrifying aspect, is like all these data points they have, and the technocrats and all the rest of the stuff we talk about, where we talk about Facebook, Google, and Twitter, and all the data points they have on us through our smartphones, which we'll get to in just a second, by the way, because there's a lot of really good stuff here. Actually, matter of fact, got a phone call we'll go to in just a sec. I see you there. Let's see, who is this? What's up, Joseph? Hang on one sec. He's got a great idea about the ad blocker, so hang tight, Joseph, one sec. I want to point this out just real fast regarding data points and smartphones and all the stuff that they're actually using against us. Check this out. This is from Vice.com. This just hit just before we did the show today. CDC tracked millions of phones to see if Americans followed COVID lockdown orders, all right? And this is, again, another one up to the conspiracy theorists. That would be us, yours truly here, me, because we were talking about this. Like, I don't like handing over sort of a centralized database of anything to any organization that the government can just tap into like this. And wouldn't you know it, newly released documents showed the CDC plan to use phone location data to monitor schools and churches, and wanted to use data for many this is the worst part, and wanted to use the data for many non-COVID-19 purposes too. All right. Again, right? The thing become. I'm not going to say. Look, I don't think COVID is fake. I think it may have been created in a laboratory. I'll say that, right? Because we're allowed to say that again. I was saying it before it was even a thing you couldn't say, and then when it became a thing you couldn't say, I was like, well, that was weird. And then suddenly they're like, oh, by the way, we can say it now because we thought about it and talked about it. And yeah, well, anyway, that tells you how far ahead other people are than other people. But anyway, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention bought access to. They bought it, actually paid cash money to location data harvested from tens of millions of phones in the United States to perform analysis of compliance with curfews, track patterns of people visiting K through 12 schools, and specifically monitor the effectiveness. This is where it gets weird, of policy in the Navajo Nation, according to CDC documents obtained by Motherboard. The documents also show that although the CDC used COVID-19 as a reason to buy access to the data more quickly, it intended to use it for more general CDC purposes. All right. Now, look, are we actually supposed to just be fine with all of this digital surveillance and tracking? I said it when this happened, like, oh, this is going to be great. They're going to roll out this mandatory thing onto our phones, right? I never downloaded an app that tracked my ass, right? You probably didn't either, but they just pushed it to your phone as part of the operating system update. And so what did they do? They sold this information to the CDC, which, by the way, is part of the federal government. And of course, well, now they have all this data they shouldn't have. And not only that, they were using it in emergency purposes for COVID, but then it also came out in these documents that they were also using that data for other things, non-COVID. And are we expected to actually trust advertisers with dream data? No, hell no. Triple hell no. Are you kidding me? What are your thoughts regarding this? 702-957-1037. Let's go to Joseph in the Dream ad blocker. What's up, brother? That's a fantastic idea. Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you, my man? Go right ahead. Joseph. Oh, crap. Sorry. Hold on. I muted the phone line. One moment. That was completely my bad. Let's try that again. Let's pretend like it never happened. Joseph in Iowa. Welcome to Troubled Minds. Sorry about that. Go right ahead. I can hear you.
That might have been my end.
That was me. I totally botched that. I totally botched it. Yeah, go right ahead. Sorry about that.
Okay. So I was thinking they're going to make money off of like teaching us stuff that we already know to block this stuff, right? Because we've already had to deal with through history, like basically ourselves and, like trying to stay independent as a person, you know, like in like, I don't know, like, especially I imagine like the Egyptian days, like, I don't know if the pyramids had symbols on them to begin with, but they had symbols on them when we found them, or we're not found them or rediscovered them. And I don't know, like I was thinking ad blockers could be like an unlock, like maybe like a Buddha training or of some type.
Yeah, I think it could be. So your idea then, and I think this is fantastic. So we're talking about advertising in your dreams, right? Through some sort of sound or something coming from like your smart device. It detects you're asleep. It turns on some sort of audio that plays subliminal messages, maybe like Derek was saying sigils, also like you're describing like the pyramids and hieroglyphics or whatever. It's not going to be direct. You're not going to see the golden arches. You're going to see something more subtle like the Rocky Mountains and some water, which makes you think about cores, right? Which we'll get to in a sec on that. But what you suggested in the chat when I thought it was amazing, that eventually at some point through Neuralink and all the rest of this garbage, right, they're going to be able to sell ad block to these dreamvertising situations. Tell us about that idea, my friend. I thought it was amazing.
Well, that would be what I was talking about there was kind of a natural way to do it, you know, and they'll have that for sure because but they'll also have technology. They'll have like you said, right, like you described there, but maybe like you ever seen Black Mirror, how like you can blank people out? Maybe you just won't see what you're buying, you know? You can just choose not to see what you're buying. Like it'll be like a feature.
Yeah, like
you can just get, because everything's delivered now. I mean, especially like Walmart delivery, everyone has delivery now. And like all you'd have to do is just choose an option, maybe. I don't know. Or wear glasses, like I said in the chat, like wear glasses that's like sees these subliminal messages and like detects it, like an AI detects it and then just fuzzes it out.
Yeah, it could be. I hope what this isn't leading to is that we're actually like end up sleeping in like a Faraday cage or something, right? I mean, like it's
what's that?
Just like something that like blocks all signals. So like you end up, you're ready to go to sleep, but the bed you sleep in is in like some sort of like, electromagnetic protector that just keeps, your phone's outside of this bubble, but you're sleeping inside the bubble to keep all signals off of you, right? Like think about how terrifying that dystopian future is. You're like, we know we're walking around in society and they're just blasting us with all these frequencies and ads and all kinds of like subliminal crap. But then when you go home and like you want to actually have some peace, there's like a Faraday cage, a Faraday bubble sort of thing where you get into your bed and lay down and put your phone outside of it, and it's the only like actual like human peace you could have without all that crazy signal stuff, right? And that would be a true ad block because, well, it would kind of be like a sensory deprivation tank, right? In terms of electronic signals. That's what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. That would be weird though. Like that would be interesting too. Like if they could do that, like with waves and stuff, and trigger like a wave that I don't know, like a brain, like a wire that remembers like another, I don't know, connections and stuff. It's weird.
It is weird, super weird. So do you think this is possible, and how far does this go?
I think it's possible. I think it, like everyone was saying, it's happening now, but it's kind of like out of control. And I wonder what the controlled stuff is. Like I don't know. I feel like you really got to train yourself. Like, but I say that lightly because I don't know much about dreaming. Like if you get yourself astral projecting and you get stuck, like, and you actually got Freddy coming for you, it's the Ronald McDonald. You messing with my ad, dude? It's like I'd start tripping out. Like I've been having dreams about Ronald for 3 months, just shaking back and forth and stuff. Like, I don't know.
I don't know either. That's why we're here talking about this. I don't know either, man. So it's definitely possible. So how far does it go? Do you think eventually this just becomes so ubiquitous that everybody's under the influence of this dreamvertising? Or do you think maybe, I don't know, does Elon buy the United States and just start making his own laws? How does this end?
Like the people in the past, like what was it? Tesla, he said like he saw a world, like some of these people say they saw a world that they can't imagine. Like maybe it does get really weird, you know, but hopefully not.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, it's going to be absolutely wild what 100 years from now looks like. And like we may be pioneers in those thoughts and dreams right now, and they may look back at us and be like, "Man, these guys knew what was up." And if that's the case, I hope that's the case because I think we're tapped into something here. I think sharing ideas and just kind of rubbing elbows kind of every night in this sort of speakeasy situation where we show up and talk about wild stuff. I think it's educating us, not just as individuals, but as a group. And I think this is all possible. And it's a little bit terrifying, if you ask me. I appreciate the call, my friend. Anything else you got for us tonight?
Yeah. That's basically it. Like astral, or what is it? Astral dreaming, astral projections, or I don't like when you're like dreaming, but like it's more like reality. Maybe like people will start figuring that out, you know, and that's when the real ads are going to start coming in. Like you're going to actually see a poster on the wall. Like, dang.
Exactly.
Because like if you have a dream, like sometimes like you don't remember like little things like that. But if you start remembering little things like that, I think it would throw off the whole dream because you can only remember split seconds. So like, dang, I only remember that darn McDonald's ad. Or whatever. I don't know. I keep saying McDonald's because it's probably programmed into me right now.
Yeah, exactly. Derek said it. I said it earlier. It's interesting, right? So just regular generic advertising like radio and TV that we've been subjected to all our lives. Like we go to like the brands that we know and it's like McDonald's, it's Coke, it's right. It's like the most ridiculous, ubiquitous stuff. We're just like, all right, I guess this is where we're at. I appreciate the call, my friend. We got a call behind you. We got to get to. Joseph in Iowa has got his YouTube channel called Hydro Hose. Check it out. He does original music and some other stuff. I've popped into his live streams recently. Go check it out. He's a talented dude. I appreciate the phone call, Joseph. Always a pleasure, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot and have a great night. 702-957-1037. Dreamvertising. Targeted dream incubation. That's right. They're going to sell to us in our dreams. You think this is possible, and how far does this go? The most terrifying aspect here is, I think, well, how do we tell the difference between when we change our own mind or when some jingle in our sleep changed our mind itself. One more time, 702-957-1037. Love to hear your thoughts. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you? Go right ahead.
Good. Doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good. And I have great calls tonight. And I'm really glad you brought this up. I really think there's a lot to it. It seems to me that, like, what I've looked into about it with the whole dreaming thing, and I don't know, but it seems as if, like, if it's a place, like when you go to sleep, if everyone on the planet is going to this certain place where the apparent dreams are taking place, it seems like we're going to some kind of place. And it's really weird with the dreams because the body can't tell the difference. Like the same part of the front of the brain that's active during the day is active in these dream states. And they put it down to REM sleep. And everybody's heard that when they have the rapid eye movement that they're dreaming. But what's really interesting is they further studies into it. It seems like you may be dreaming even beyond that, even when you're not experiencing rapid eye movement. But aside from all of that, it's like they pretend as if, like, all of the scientific studies and the governments of the world that we're in, as if they're not interested in it. They don't seem to know a lot about it. And that's not true. Like, they've really looked into this, and they're very interested. I mean, many secret programs into it, and it's really strange. Like, people are bringing up the Nightmare on Elm Street thing, and I wanted to bring up that actually that's based off of, like, Wes Craven based that off of some true stories he had heard, where, like, there was like 130 deaths and, like, from 81 to 83 involving in the LA Times, and it was involving Southeast Asian refugees that were dying, crying out in their sleep, and then they would die in their sleep, like a nightmare death. And you have this account of that. But I mean, aside from that, I'm just saying, like, how powerful the dream state is and how much time you spend in that state, in that place where they are aware of too. I'm saying that the governments and the scientists of the world know more about the dreamscape than we do. Even though in all past civilizations, like, all of our past civilizations have been extremely interested in what's happening, and they would equate the sleep state and give it equal measure to the waking state, and that there's no real way to tell. In fact, like with lucid dreaming, it was important for people who were lucid dreaming in government programs to signal themselves in the day-to-day. They got so proficient with dreaming that even when they were awake, they weren't so sure, and they would signal to themselves, kind of like in Inception, in the movie Inception, with the top that would endlessly spin, that they would know then, because they were so adept at dreaming, that would signal to them that they were actually awake. They would have a signal for themselves. That's how, I mean, imagine that you become so studied in dreaming because you're being hired or you volunteer to do so, that you really can't tell after a certain point whether you're asleep and dreaming or you're awake. That is unbelievable. Like, terrifying to imagine, like, that state of mind where you would actually have to, and they went very in depth with this, where they have there's different systems of how to do this deep lucid dreaming where you're aware that you're dreaming. And that was very important because the programs that they were doing was to signal to themselves. They were trying to do remote viewing. And what the dreamers were doing was, like, the study was, they'd put like an envelope with a picture of National Geographic in the room of the sleeper. And then the sleeper would go to sleep, and in their lucid dream, they would get up, walk over to the envelope, open it up, and look at it, and then report back. That's how the study began, in this particular study by the CIA. And the dreamers were able to do this without leaving their bed. And in remote viewing, this dream study, they have what's called an agent, kind of like in the Matrix, that idea. And they would be in another room, sometimes another building, communicating to the dreamer in like a telepathic state. And this is all in CIA documents. This is like, not just making it up. Like they were like very in-depth doing this. And then further looking into it, like I said, the dreamers couldn't tell the difference between their waking life, and some of them reported this, that in their waking life, they couldn't tell the difference between being awake and being asleep because the more you're focusing on your dreams and the deeper you go with it, sleep masks, temperature regulation, timers, lights, signaling, all these different things that they were utilizing to really get deep into the dream state and understand it, they began to kind of, the lines would get blurred, and they remembered more and more of their dreams to where it was just like waking life. They couldn't tell. And you could get lost in that. And there's a lot of reports that that's actually, it's very dangerous. The negative on lucid dreaming is that it could be dangerous because of that very reason, that you might start to blur realities. And it could be dangerous to the psyche. But if you think about this idea of this advertising to the dream state there's no Faraday cage, in my opinion. There's nothing, because if they have hacked the dreamscape where we all go, you'd have to go into the dreamscape and you would have to set up something there. Not here, but there. Because it seems to be a place.
Interesting. So meaning that if, let's say, you were dreaming about, let's say, a sibling, and you were both in the dream together, even if you personally were sleeping in a Faraday cage in your own personal home and bed and whatnot, let's say your sibling was not, that is still the subliminal messaging of dreamvertising is still leaking through into the dreamscape zeitgeist, and you're sort of absorbing it as just part of being in that separate realm. That's even more terrifying. Holy crap. That means there's no stopping it. That means there's no stopping it.
No, I don't think there is, but except the fact that in dreams, what's really interesting is that you have a lot of control. Like lucid dreaming has been helpful for people who experience night terrors. And like the night death that was discussed with like the basis of Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street was that they wouldn't go to sleep because they were afraid because people were dying in their sleep, is the whole premise. Well, lucid dreaming suggests that if you can understand that you're dreaming, and that's what the whole thing in the characterization of the story goes, if you could realize that you're dreaming, you could save yourself because you'd realize it was a dream. It's just a dream. And then you could have more control. You could have complete control and do things you could never do in the waking world. And that's the same thing. We all know that. And that's why having, like, if you can realize you're dreaming, most of the time, if something is happening to you in a dream that you don't want to happen, you can begin to guide the dream itself. You can have powers and control that you would never have in the waking world. It would be incomprehensible, that you'd be able to do what you can't, like in the dream state, you can do absolutely anything you can imagine. Anything you can think of or even fathom, you can do and accomplish in a dream state where the laws of nature are not being applied. And so if you could master it, you could rise above anything they could bring at you if you could master it yourself, because they've mastered it.
I think so. Interesting you bring up Project Stargate. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Always a great time, Jennifer. Do you want to hang out? Well, I'll skip the break and let you finish. If you got more stuff, you tell me. We're out of time for the radio.
No, it's okay. It's just really cool. Cool topic.
I appreciate the call. You're the best. Jennifer, Missouri, always a pleasure. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the call. Jennifer has a YouTube channel. Check it out. Links in the description down below, and she does other stuff. Very Troubled Minds-ish. Go check it out. All right, so as we finish, right, it goes a little something like this. I don't have the answers. The answers are for you. If you're listening to us on, let's say, Fringe FM, or stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. And it goes like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. All right, here's the deal. We are now off the Fringe. We're doing streaming on YouTube, DLive, Rockfin, and Twitter. I messed that all up. And look, we're still taking your phone calls. So what do you think about this idea of Dreamvertising? We're going to take a 2-minute break and be right back with more of all this. And of course, the third hour is for you. So hey, if we don't get interaction, I'm just going to go to bed because, well, that's how I extort you for phone calls. 702-957-1037. What do you think about Dreamvertising and the rest of this? Going to play some music, and we'll be right back. 2-minute break. More Troubled Minds on the way. What are your thoughts? Is there a way out of this? As Jennifer suggested, and this is where things start to get really creepy, is if this advertising, this Dreamvertising, ends up in the dream state itself. How can you escape it at all if it's sort of happening in a dream zeitgeist where you show up and you share this space with other individuals? Well, what does that mean? Where do we go with that? I have no idea. Per usual, Jennifer turning the entire show on its head. And what are your thoughts? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link, troubledminds.org. 2-minute break. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way. Be right back. I'm going to do the thing and play the music, and here we go. We'll do that. There we go. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting not on the Fringe FM right now because, well, we're off the radio, which means if you got a potty mouth, this is your hour. What are your thoughts on this idea of Dreamvertising? Is it like Derek suggested? It's more like subtle sigil magic, and that we're not going to see the golden arches. We're going to see more like, QR codes in our dreams. More like that type of sigil magic. Things more subtle, more like the Rocky Mountains and flowing water to make you dream of Coors beer. Though, to be perfectly honest, I've never dreamed of the Rocky Mountains and Coors beer as what they describe it because, well, unless you're thinking water because it tastes like water. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this? There's a whole bunch of studies, like Jennifer said as well, that they've been working on this for quite some time because, as we know, right, MK Ultra and a lot of the things we talk about on the show being a conspiracy show, of course, is like the entire the entire media battle is for the gray matter between our ears, but for our brain, for that brainwash, right? And that's why, again, things are polarizing. That's because they want to give us two options and only two options, and they want us to fight over the two options, right? It's like this whole political narrative stuff, the red and the blue stuff, and all the rest of this, right? It's the whole reason for that, in my opinion, is because they don't want us to actually see nuance in the conversation. They want us literally at each other's throats, dehumanizing each other, calling, one side calling the other side Nazis, the other side calling the other side pedos. And well, what do? Once you've dehumanized both sides to such a significantly large degree, the only next step is violence, right? The logical next step is violence because they've removed the humanity from the argument. Because, let's get those pedos, let's get those Nazis, right? And that's what's going on here. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And so regarding this and that zeitgeist idea of a sort of just breaking people's brains with media brainwash and all the rest of this stuff, what about the idea of dreamvertising in this, what they're calling targeted dream incubation? And that's the most terrifying thing to me, is because sometimes in this case, you won't even know what's your own idea and what's not. And I mean, surely you can, like when you're awake, not like, not like, I'm woke. No, not like that. Not like the conspiracy community kind of uses the term awake. I don't mean any of that. I don't mean metaphor at all. I mean awake, walking around, not asleep is what I mean. Awake. If you're awake and you're at least in some terms conscious of the media that you're consuming, right? Even if it's like, notice how at every damn airport in the country, in the United States, because I'm speaking for the United States, every airport I've ever been in, they have CNN on the monitor, right? It's always CNN all the time. Do they have a contract with CNN? Every airport in the country? What's going on? Am I wrong there? Can somebody help me out? Every time I go into an airport and there's a TV up, it's got CNN on it. I'm like, what? Can we put on some like Barney Miller or some shit? Like I'm not trying to watch CNN all the time. I do watch it because, well, I'm a glutton for punishment, but I do watch Fox News too, because I think it's important to notice, like I said, if you don't want to be fooled, you got to see what both sides are saying, right? And so I'll turn on CNN, listen to them for 20 minutes, and I'll turn on Fox News, listen to them for 20 minutes. And it's pretty stark. It's interesting that the things they highlight, the things they talk about, the things they dodge and don't talk about, like I said, they want to make sure everything's completely polarized in two completely different realities, all right? And we're talking about the waking reality. Well, what about when we start talking about the dream reality? When sometimes, many of us don't even have control over our dreams. Some people can, lucid dream and, the rest of that. It kind of ends up in a sort of interesting place, right? But otherwise, it ends up in, sort of you're in Peter Pan Wonderland, and you're, wondering what the hell's going on. And then you wake up and think, wow, what a wild dream. What a wild dream that was. Well, what if it isn't influenced by your subconscious at all? What if it's influenced by a McDonald's jingle or something to that effect? I don't know. What's up, Elizabeth? What's up, Larry? I see you guys in the chat. Old timers, old friends of the show, old friends of mine. Thanks for hanging out. Larry says, creepy as hell. Do they turn up the volume on commercials like the never-ending jingles you can't get out of your head? How about subliminal triggers? And that's a good question. What's up? Lily says, I hate those dreams where I can't tell if it happened for real or it was a dream. And I think that's the terrifying part. Like I said, what happens when you wake up and you don't know the difference? What's up, Matt in California says, it is real. Sometimes I can't tell the difference between real life and dreams. Yep, good stuff. What's up, Renee Sauce? What's going on, guys? Fantastic calls from all. Thank you. Thank you again. Like I said, this show is nothing without all the rest of you guys. Honestly, I could mumble to myself in the corner here, and it's still my thoughts just kind of pouring out like they do, but without you guys chipping in, this becomes very, 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 very boring very, very quickly, as you can tell, as I'm talking here and nobody calls. Larry says, a legion of Manchurian candidate sleepers, they weaponize everything, and they will if they can, right? And I think that's the craziest part. Let's see, what else do we got? Joseph says, I heard a lot of stories from people talking about their dreams, and it makes me think institution dream realm to control the chaos, maybe. That's another good way to put it. Absolutely. What's up? Algo says, algorithm. Everybody give algorithm a follow. That's Mike in Colorado. Says, I get up every day to do the things just so I can sleep and dream. There it is, right? But what if your dreams are being manipulated by dreamvertising? Copyright Michael Strange. I'm making that up right now on the fly. Algo adds, my dreaming state is as real as our waking state. There you go. What's going on? Wanda says, wake up to the phone playing news load. Yeah, exactly. Yep. I don't know. I think this is the scariest part about this is, number one, so the questions tonight. So do you think that it's possible to actually not just influence, but control your thoughts through this idea of dreamvertising, also known as targeted dream incubation, right? Number one. Second question, if that's the case, how far does this go? And what happens when we cannot differentiate between our own ideas? Like, for instance, let's say you've been drinking a particular brand of coffee for, most of your adult life. But then suddenly you wake up one day and you're like, you know what? I don't want X brand. I want Y brand of coffee, right? And you go buy that. So is it because it's a conscious decision and you lost the taste for X brand of coffee, but instead it's actually sort of pervaded your dream state, and now you like wake up and you're like, Y brand of coffee, right? That's going to make me feel better. That's going to make me have energize my day or whatever, right? Like, it's anyway, like, that's the point. That's what we're doing. That's why we talk about this stuff, because it's terrifying if you can't really, again, as algorithm says, control your mind or someone else will. And that's the horrifying part about all of this and this sort of brainwash mass media dream state stuff and advertising on top is like, how much do you know about yourself when you don't even know if this decisions you make are your own? That's when it becomes terrifying entirely. Looking to hear from you guys. If this is, like I said, you can't hit a home run every show, and if you guys are like, that's good enough, I'm cool to go to bed, I'm also cool to go to bed. So if we get some calls, we'll keep on trucking. If not, we'll just shut this down early. No sweat. I'm not tripping. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. And as usual, we can always rely on James of Salcedo Paranormal, which means, of course, we're looking to hear from you if you want to keep the show going. There you go. Sometimes that's what you do. You got to threaten to shut it down and people start calling. Thanks, James. I appreciate you chipping in. We got another phone call on the line coming in. James Salcedo, welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you, my friend?
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Always on point, my friend. Your audio is, it's almost like you do this a lot.
Yeah, it's weird how that works. But I just wanted to call in and say hi because I haven't called in a little while. If you want to go to the other phone call real quick, I wouldn't mind.
No. What, do you got some ideas? What do you want to do? That's no. You're first. You beat them to the punch.
Okay. Well, coincidence or not, I happen to be tired tonight, so I ended up kind of dozing on and off throughout the show. So I probably missed a lot. So I apologize if I repeat anything, but there's really just two things to this. The first is, I'm guessing the obvious thing to anyone that kind of plays this whole thing out forward is, again, I think I've heard it mentioned a couple of times, what happens when it's not just about advertising for products, but it's more advertising for again, politics or even just individual corporations that, or even people that decide that everyone should think a certain way, and so they pay out the money that they need to pay to get that to happen that way.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So as always, right? There's sort of the road to what do they say? The road to the slippery slope, I guess the way to put it. I'm sure there's a road analogy I'm looking for, but I can't remember it. But there's a slippery slope here in that it's one thing to be like, we're going to interject into your dreams. You want X brand of coffee instead of Y, or the other way around, right? That's one thing. But then, like you said, once it becomes like a political sort of discussion or that sort of brainwash, or even worse, right? Like, I mean, politics is trash, but like in general, but what if it's worse? What if it's literally like, they talk about radicalizing people or that Manchurian candidate type stuff, or, right? I mean, and that's the thing. That's the dangerous stuff. So imagine layers of obfuscation in these sort of dreamvertising things in that, so they could say, we're trying to make you believe that, X coffee is better than Y coffee or whatever, right? But then also in sort of a second layer of obfuscation in this dreamvertising, they're also like, you also want to, grab some, destructive things and do some destructive things to places or people, right? Like, I think that's right. That this is where this certainly turns into a hugely concerning thing to me, because it's no longer about like a market share and corporatism or any of the rest of that. It becomes about, well, a whole lot of other things, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I was just thinking earlier about the whole advertising thing on its own. You know, there's a couple of restaurants in my area that I would love to, if I could afford to, I would love to just order food from there, you know, all week long. But I don't care how many ads they put in TV or radio or my dreams, they're not going to get me to buy more of their stuff. Excuse me, because I can't afford it. So, on that level, I don't even feel like... I mean, maybe it'd work sometimes, but I don't think it'd really work all that much. But if you get people, the wrong kind of people, basically just people that want chaos or that want to basically, let's say, even just rule the world, they pay enough money or they take control of enough systems that can do these things, and they, work on it more and research it, and I mean, who knows what it would take, but it seems like eventually it could just lead to a complete takeover, mental takeover, mind control takeover of large portions of, or even of the entire world at some point, someday.
Yeah, it's all influence, right? It's all influence. And again, just look at the political spectrum, and they've spent definitely billions of dollars trying to make us hate each other. And I think there's literally almost no other end to this. And that, like they talk about politically, going across the aisle and making friends with the other team. No, bullshit. No, come on now. Like they don't want us to believe that, or they would be telling us that in the media narratives, right? They would be like, you know what? Come on, look, guys, as much as you want to think your neighbor's a Nazi, why don't we not think they're a Nazi? And why don't we talk about maybe what we have in common? I'm sure we have some things in common that are, probably more productive for humanity at large. But then what you get is you get boos and hisses. I don't have anything in common with Nazis, right? And that's the whole point. It's like the dehumanization of the entire aspect of being human. It's just like, all right, well, again, now that you're no longer human, you're a pedo or you're a Nazi, then it's okay to attack them. And I mean, this is what I mean. It's common sense if you stop and think for just a moment. But man, people don't want to think. People don't want to think. They just follow these bullshit party lines and just say the dumbest stuff, and then stick with it, right? Is it Mark Twain? I think he said, it's easier to fool somebody than to convince them they've been fooled, right? so we just everybody walking around just being fooled. I've been fooled. Hey, look, I've been fooled, James, too. I'm not some righteous, know everything guy. I just recognize holy fuck, I'm turning into a terrible piece of shit. With their talking points, and I don't even believe any of this trash. Why on God's green earth am I becoming this? And I noticed it, I recognized it in myself, and then it dawned on me. Right, I was like, oh, I see. I'm becoming not myself because it's an influence. It's something that's ubiquitous all the time in the mass media, and so I think this is what we should be talking about. But by golly, James, notice we don't talk about any of that shit on this show because I came to a conclusion that their narrative is not our narrative. There you go.
Yeah, no, definitely. I noticed, and I'm not even going to bother saying when this happened exactly, but I noticed that years ago myself too. I'll just say the majority, at least as far as I know, the majority of my family is very much in support of one party overall, and they have their own views on some details here and there. I'm not saying they don't. They're not completely. They have ideas and thoughts and everything else, but still, they're very much for one party over the other. And so at first, when I was able to, when I first became able to vote and everything, I thought, oh yeah, I'll go with that one, because almost everyone that I know seems to go with that one. But then I started paying more attention to the news, and it just none of it made sense. It just didn't make sense for the side that I was supporting, or for the other side of it, that all seemed the same. So definitely, but if they can use this technology to get into people's minds, and even if it's not even, I mean, it's not just a out and out violent suggestion or like that. I don't even think it had to be. If you just can give people, tell them what they want to hear about even their own, how things are going to work out for them enough. I think that could be bad in its own way. So, yeah, it's not good. The only other thing I wonder about with all this, and I think Joseph mentioned it earlier, I think it was him, I wonder what this is going to do to our minds while we're sleeping, in terms of the paranormal side of things. Is this going to stop people from having lucid dreams or out-of-body experiences or anything like that, or even just regular dreams that are useful for us, to figure things out for ourselves or whatever. But or if it's going to somehow stop any kind of let's say visitations from loved ones that have passed. If it's going to be interfere, what is it going to interfere with in just a regular dreaming, but also in some of the other things that can happen while you're asleep that can be good and bad, but still I think they're part of life. At least for some people they are.
I think so. Through all of this, it becomes, as always, right? What do you believe, right? Like, who do you trust? Like, do you trust yourself to be able to cut through these narratives and, realize that you're constantly trying to be manipulated by salespeople, by political parties, by the mass media, by all the data points we talk about them collecting, by even, and now we're talking dreams. I mean, think about that. Like, literally like a Clyde Lewis says, this is a Clyde Lewis term, right? I know he won't mention me, but I'll mention him. Hi, Clyde, if you're out there listening. He says full spectrum control, right? And that's exactly what that is. It's like constant brainwash, constant 24 hours a day. And what do? I mean, I'm not sure you can escape this. I think part of it just becomes... I think finding, what would you say? Finding a support group, right? Like something like this. And I fancy that we're probably somewhere in that range of a support group for each other. And then, hey, like we talk to each other and be like, hey, like a lot of this shit you see is not real. It's just not. It's important to hear other people say it and hear other people think it, and we've got a lot of brilliant folks, including yourself here, just kicking the ideas out. I appreciate it, bro. What else you got for us tonight, my man?
No, that was it, but I'll just sit here, and if anything else comes up, I'll let you know.
I appreciate it. You're the best. James of Salcedo Paranormal. Check him out. Links in the description down below. He's the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds and a good friend of mine, good friend of the show. And he's always Johnny on the spot when we need him. He's popping up and saying, hey, you need a caller, Mike? I got you. You want to test audio, Mike? I got you. You want to do this, Mike? I got you. He's volunteering for everything. I appreciate it so much, James. Like I said, the lifeblood of this show. Thank you so much for being you. I appreciate it a lot.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Right on. It's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link, troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Let's go to Joseph in Iowa. What's up, brother? Welcome to Troubled Minds. Go right ahead.
Hey, I just want to add a dream in, right?
Sure. Go ahead.
So I saw Squid Games. I think I've talked about this. I might have before. But when I saw Squid Games, and I didn't even watch it. I just kind of like got the concept in my mind. I'm like, okay, I see. And like watched a couple key points, but then I had a dream. It triggered a dream. I don't know if it was related to Squid Games, but I had one of the most vivid dreams. And it was a blank dream where I was seeing other people. So like I come from nothing, and like a lot of people are coming from nothing. It's like you're slowly fading into something, and then like you're going, and then like people you can like see like you're communicating into them, right? Like they're people, but they can go blank faced, but they keep going, right? And then they eventually sit at seats, and then it's like I'm following this line of this thing, and then eventually these seats like lead back to nothingness, and I start fading out of it, the dream. As I realize like everyone around me is blank, I start to go blank myself, you know, kind of dream.
Yeah, sort of like that,
and
that NPC idea.
It makes me think.
Some are conscious, some are not.
It makes
that type
me think.
Of thing. Go ahead, sorry.
It made me think like, straight up like we were in like you could like become like maybe like a, I don't know, like Jennifer was saying. I think she said something about it, like a place. Like it's really weird. I've heard some really scary stories because I kind of did a little diving on YouTube of like people astral dreaming or lucid dreaming, it is, and like it gets weird. Like I'm not even going to talk about it. It's kind of haunting, like, but like that's just some people's minds. That's why they're talking about it. Like it's kind of like you were talking about with the reptile eye. Like you see all this stuff that's scary, but like, and then I don't know, it's for a reason though, right? Like we learn, we learn a lot overnight. Like, I don't know if that Squid Games triggered that realm to be short for me, and I was able to walk it with people and a bunch of people. But I'm telling you right now that, like, I don't know, I completely lost my thought right there.
That's all right. I got you. I got you, buddy. I got you. So meaning that you're sometimes you're not sure how mass media, Netflix, Squid Game actually does sort of maybe manipulate your dream state. You feel like it's two different places, but they seem similar enough, both in real life and in the dream state. Something like that.
Well, I've definitely had dreams like that, but I just thought it was weird. Like I tried to connect it to Netflix or like the Squid Games because it felt like I was a part of like a staff. You know how they had masks over their face? They were blank face mask members. They had triangles, symbols on their faces. And that's kind of how this dream was. Like you don't really see people. They're just like people to you, you know?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. All of this is weird. Again, like I said, it's one thing to be constantly bombarded with just a brainwashed propaganda in our waking hours, but if you start to creep into sleepy time, this is dangerous, man. This is dangerous, and not just brands like James was saying too, like Jennifer was saying, like Derek was saying, like Joe was saying, like all the people that called us tonight were saying, Robert was saying, like this is not something trivial. This is dangerous because you can actually just influence how tomorrow happens, right? And again, like I've tried very hard in my life to not just be a negative Nancy, a downer about everything, right? Because it's easy. It's so fucking easy to just be negative about everything, right? It's easy. But I mean, I'm learning more and more that it's one of the few things we can control is to just, hey, look, let's not let the little things like bother us. And let's look at the big picture and care about our attitude and our mood and try and be a better person tomorrow, right? And those things we control. Yeah. I'm telling you. And so if it's the opposite and we're like, Nazi pedo, okay, civil war. I mean, fuck, like what, like it seems like that's the goal here. It's ugly all around, but then again, we're not even talking about that. We're talking about infiltration of our dreams in that capacity. It's sick, man. It's a sick space. And, well, here we are. It's a good look. It's a good thing. Like I thank the let's say thank the gods. Just to not make sure I offend everybody. And I thank the gods every day for this show, for you, for us, for being able to get together and talk about things that are sort of non-denominational in every way and agnostic in every way. Because
I do.
Go ahead.
I like the thing, like we are like very powerful, right? So especially in the dream realm, that's our world, so nobody can tell you your world is nobody can, like when it comes down to it, like that's how I think. And as long as you have that mindset that you were talking about, like you're going to be a powerful powerful individual, and you shouldn't have to worry about it, symbols, you know. And maybe worry is a worry definitely is a thing in your dream, you know. So I think we're like I do think we're basically like a Ninja Turtle. We got that shell, you know.
For now, maybe. Let's call it the Faraday shell.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But or something like built in, you know, like something that we kind of like you see something bad, you know, you wake up from it, you know. I snap out of my dreams. That's what if I realize I'm in a dream, a lot of the times it's game over for that dream.
Yeah, it's good to be able to tell the difference. I think that's for sure. But notice, right? In terms of a sort of a dream, a waking dream, or that idea of controlling your dreams, right? And then, what about somebody else controlling your dreams? It becomes a terrifying aspect. Because again, we're under a constant bombardment, and I know you're a thinker, Joseph. That's why you're here, because you love to think about this stuff, right? I ask you a question you hadn't thought of yet, and you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm not sure, but let me think about it. And I hear you talking it out. That's amazing. It's like hearing people with open minds with a thought process, kind of going down the thought rabbit hole in their own head. To me, that's the best part about this. That's the best part. It's like, hey, look, let's ask some questions that nobody gets asked every day, and let's just see what comes out of this. And we got something magical, man. And you're a big part of that. I appreciate you very much.
Heck yeah, man.
Right on. Thanks for calling back. Thanks for the phone call. Thanks for listening. Always a pleasure. You're the best, bro.
Yep. Thank you.
Have a great night. There you go. Simple as that. Joseph here has a YouTube channel called Hydro Hose. Check it out. Links in the description. He has original music, some live streams, and some other stuff. Go check it out. He's actually written some original songs based on the Troubled Minds shows. So go check it out. Pretty good stuff. He was dipped into his live stream the other day. He's like, "Oh, Mike, you got to hear this," and he had written a song about troubled minds, and very, very good stuff. Let's get back to this. We're talking about Dreamvertising, all right? Targeted dream incubation. I'm going to say it again. Targeted dream incubation. Now, I have to say that because I'm going to forget the term because I'm an asshole, but here you go. For now, TDI, targeted dream incubation-based advertising, requires our active participation. For example, choosing to play an 8-hour Coors soundtrack while we sleep, which was a real thing. They actually, and this is the craziest part, right? They actually got people to go to sleep and play audio for some 8-hour Coors beer soundtrack. All right. And you know what they did? They gave them a 6-pack. And they did this for a free 6-pack. Are you fucking shitting me? Right. I'm like, hey, look, if you're going to give me a 6-pack to do something whack, make it a good 6-pack, please. I mean, holy shit. Okay, so anyway, right? So they did this. They put these people. Well, they didn't put them to sleep. I'm sorry. That's the wrong way to put it. The people went to sleep, but they volunteered to get a free 6-pack of Coors, right? And they had an 8-hour Coors play commercial. This audio thing to test, right? So anyway, back to this. For now, TDI-based advertising requires our active participation. For example, choosing to play an 8-hour Coors soundtrack while we sleep. But it is easy to envision a world in which smart speakers, and you got it, 40 million Americans currently have them in their bedrooms. Is that you? Where's Sherry when you need her? Throw it in the lake. And that's a proverbial lake. Here we go. So 40 million Americans currently have them in their bedrooms, become instruments of passive, unconscious overnight advertising with or without our permission. These tailored soundtracks would become background scenery for our sleep, as the unending billboards that litter American highways have become for our waking life. All right, and this is actually from this article called it's from Advertising and Dreams is Coming. Now what? All the links are in the description if you want to find this stuff. All right, then the next one is this. Again, I have to go to the thing. The targeted dream incubation, because I'm not sick enough to remember that term off the cuff. Targeted dream incubation advertising is not some fun gimmick, but a slippery slope with real consequences. Planting dreams in people's minds for the purpose of selling products, not to mention addictive substances. Oh, who would sell those things, right? It raises important ethical questions. The moral line dividing companies selling relaxing rain soundtracks to help people sleep from those embedding targeted dreams to influence consumer behavior is admittedly unclear at the moment. While the Federal Trade Commission has indicated that subliminal ads during wake violate its statute requiring truth in advertising, there is no similar indication regarding exposure to advertisements during sleep. You know what I smell? A loophole. I smell a loophole. You see, right? So there's no law on the books that says you can't do it. So guess what everybody's doing? They're gearing up to do it. You see? Sick stuff. I don't know. You tell me. Happy birthday to Kelly out there in Colorado. What's up? Thank you, Sherry, for pointing that out. I'm not on Facebook anymore, else I would have noticed as well. I literally just logged out of Facebook. So much so that I tried to log in the other day to use the ad account, because I have, Facebook ads from time to time on particular different things. That's not Troubled Minds, because they don't even approve Troubled Minds ads anymore. But so I went to log into Facebook and I was locked out of my own account. And they're like, it's been a while. Give us a stool sample and a retina scan, and send us some fucking blood, right? And there you go. Happy 50th birthday, Kelly. God damn it, 40s. Damn it, 40s. Why? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link, troubledminds.org. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. How are you, my friend? Test 1 2.
Hello.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Everything's working. Thank goodness for that. No Faraday cage necessary for the moment. What's on your mind? Thanks for calling back.
I can't not, think about, how can we tell the difference? How do we know that this world I'm not an expert dreamer, but there have been those who were. And it makes you wonder, if they began to come to some point, these are flesh and blood people, but in dreams, you're flesh and blood. Sometimes in very depths of dreams, you'll have things happen, and you feel that when you're in a real vivid dream, you feel and you cannot tell the difference. Otherwise you would know, and you would call that a lucid dream. But so many times people can't tell. How can we tell that this is not even, not to overly blur the line, but you spend so much time asleep. We spend a huge proportion of our life. Infants spend most of their day just sleeping. And as you get older, you sleep less and less, but you're still sleeping at least a quarter, or more, depending. And or if you don't, you die. If you don't sleep enough, if you don't go there enough, and of course it's about cell recuperation for this body, but it makes you think, in the dream state, do they sleep? Do you, a lot of people, do people sleep? Does the dreamer, the thing that's dreaming, I don't know how to explain it, but when you go into a dream state, does the person that you are in the dream state, do they sleep too? Is that when you're awake? Are they dreaming you? This is so convoluted and crazy because we just don't know anything. It feels like we don't know anything. And when you think about it, about the implications of the dream state and how powerful it is, and that we're just completely forgetting, and how many times, have people talked about with reincarnation, the idea that, there's a great forgetting. there's a great forgetting when you come to life, for example, and you can't remember your past life. Well, it's the same thing with the dream state. Like, people don't remember what they were dreaming about, but how important was it? We think it's not important. We don't think it matters, but there's a whole life that seems to be happening to someone, to yourself, some aspect of yourself, somewhere else, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. All of that is true, and again, so let's say it is a quarter to a third of your life sleeping, depending, right? Some people sleep a little bit more, a little bit less. But if there's that much of your life, 25 to 30%, so let's say, there's that's not in your control, literally not in your fucking control, like. It's a terrifying notion, and again, back to what you said about sort of that dream zeitgeist. Even if you slept in a Faraday cage, going out of body or whatever it is into that dream realm, you're still subjected. There's almost no way around it, right? And I think that's an important.
The laws
concept
don't apply.
Yeah, they don't. Exactly. Like we talk about the FCC, the Federal Communications. Anyway, the fucked up communication, whatever they call them, right? This guy, the FCC. But who cares, right? Like those guys. Like I said, there's no FCC in the dream world. It's like it's I don't know. It's gross. Let's say it's gross. I don't know. I'm with you. I think this is
sure. Maybe it is.
Maybe. But wait. Is there a dream world FCC? That's a whole nother show. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. It could be. But it's unbelievable to think that, and it's almost, we can't do it. But if I'm dreaming right now, like, if my entire consciousness is a conclusion of both worlds, if our existence is not just this one, but the dream state too, the whole time that we're alive, because what does it mean that the front of the brain can't tell the difference? Part of us is we're experiencing those dreams. Like, we're experiencing it the same way we're experiencing our waking life. That constitutes that the dream state is as much a part of our life as the waking world. Even though it doesn't seem like it, you know, I mean, we forget all about it. Like a new life, and you start anew in the dream state. The weird thing about it too is that time seems to be irrelevant, but they say in the waking life that time is not real. So think about that, you know, the fact that time doesn't exist. The scientists will tell you that all they can do is see a reflection that they think is time passing. In the dream state, you experience like sometimes 4 or 5 different scenarios. I know I have personally experienced like several different like whole huge events that must take place in the course of 20 minutes or something, somehow equated into the waking life. But if time doesn't exist, as it has been said that time does not exist in the waking life, and the dream state reflects that, it just seems to be our perception of it. And it's very strange to imagine that in the dream state itself, it represents that. It reflects that thing, doesn't it? I mean, because you cannot have the amount of experiences you had, you know, in the dream state. And a lot of people can't remember their dreams, and I understand that, but you're not dreaming. You just don't remember. A lot of people have told me that. I've asked my brother, you know, I've asked friends and family and things like that. Like, well, do you remember your dreams? Not to make a big deal about it, because I wouldn't, but, and they'll say things like, oh, I'm falling, or I can't remember. The thing is that something happened. Something happened. Because you dream every single night. You think I didn't dream last night because you can't remember it, but you did. Your brain does it. It does it too. And they say it's to refresh, as Derek mentioned too, that it's like some kind of cache clearing type of thing. Like it's some kind of process. But that's the surface. On the deeper level, those who have very intensively studied into this, not myself, but people who have studied into this, they say that eventually it reaches a point, a a pentacle where they can't tell the difference between, because the intricacies of the dream, and we've all been there at least once, right? Where it was too real. It was so real that they couldn't tell the difference, and it wakes them up or something. But if you imagine that every single night you're not actually asleep, but you're just like giving time to somebody else. That's what it seems like. And if some government entity or like something in society has understood this, and of course they have, and they just keep all these secrets, and it's just unbelievable. But I mean, if you think about it, that they know, and they have put money, millions or who knows how much money, into the studies of this stuff to try to understand it, and yet, we're just the general public, just kind of, aimlessly wandering around doing this and that. But what if we may be the dream of our actual self? Like, we don't know, because it's unbelievable. Go ahead. But I mean,
yeah, that's sort of the Matrix, right? So imagine, right? So in the Matrix, sort of like a construct of living in a digital construct, right? So imagine if it's not digital at all, but it's a physical construct. We've just been sort of permanently placed in like a stasis, like a sleep sort of a thing. And the dream is the dream within the dream, right? So it's the Inception style, where it's layers of dreams. And I think that's the most fucked up thing about all this, is because if you think about it in terms of the metaverse, and again, the string theory, the multiverse, like the different layers of reality that we could actually be experiencing, I think it's worth discussing. It's worth thinking about. Do I believe that entirely? Like I always say, my ego is far too large to actually concede to those notions. But I'll tell you what. The more you actually can literally consider it in those terms of like the ego is what it is, okay? But like in the blink of an eye, it could be extinguished with the anybody or anything. Like you snap your fingers and things change instantly. And so it makes you wonder about I don't know. That's why we talk about you already know. You're not new here. Why we talk about the nature of reality. The nature of reality is fascinating. Because why? Like, I don't know. I think why is a good question. I think how is a good question. I think when is a good question. And as you get older and older, the questions get shorter and shorter. What? That's the question. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm with you. So regarding dream states, then, and so where does this go? How does this end? Are we able to stop this? Do you think we have it within ourselves to maybe be able to block something that's happening that we don't realize it's happening? Like, for instance, like our political discourse here on this show is, for the most part, we're mostly as neutral as possible politically, just to be like, hey, look, one, I don't want to collect a bunch of knuckleheads, right, to have these conversations, number one. Number two, I think both sides have valid arguments if you're being honest, okay? But if you're not being honest, you're calling each other pedos and Nazis, like you were saying in chat, like I was saying earlier, right? It's not honest. It's not an honest conversation. But then on top of that, like a third layer is, well, what do we do with all of this? We're given all this crazy shit with all these crazy people, right? And we're supposed to somehow be like, no, we're the insane ones because everybody else is locked in to what's really going on. I don't know. I'm
well, okay, like from what you said, like if we are implementing the dream state, think about the fact that you can face, well, it starts one of being like, I dream every night. If anybody, a lot of times, why bother? Just live your life. A lot of people don't need to bother with any of that, They just, I'll live my life and I'll be a wall. And they do that. But for those who would be concerned about it, I would think to myself that if you were concerned about the dream state, and I think it's worth being interested in, that you are literally you're like the Matrix or something, that you're unstoppable in a dream. You're like, it's unbelievable what you can do. Things you couldn't fathom. I mean, like, you can be almost killed but survive in a dream. You can do and go anywhere in that state.
And if you imagine that, just if you're concerned, if anyone was ever concerned about that they were utilizing the dream state, you'd have to take control of that. But it's not that easy. I mean, it's just not that easy. It takes some kind of practice. I think it would probably take 3 months. I mean, if I was being honest, like I think it would probably take about 3 months of really paying attention to your dream state. I don't think it's important necessarily unless you really wanted it to be important if you were thinking about these things. And I don't know how much importance I want to give to it because it makes me very nervous. But, okay. In the dream state, you're unstoppable. And what does that mean about who we are? I mean, if you're unstoppable in the dream state and you have some kind of handle on that, none of us are going to probably do that. Like, so frustrating because, like, even myself, I've tried, you know. But there are people who have very seriously undertook it for a couple of months at a time, you know, apparently for these studies, maybe longer. Maybe they do it for a profession. I have no idea. But it is possible that you can gain... Wait a minute. Okay. So, what's the question, Mike? I'm just saying, like...
I lost the damn question. Basically, per usual, right, for Troubled Minds style, I mean, it is only Tuesday night, right? We're a couple days from Thursday. But basically, we're already... it's Tuesday, and we're already on to... Jennifer, what is the nature of reality? That's the question. That's really the question. And we're talking about dreams and advertising. I mean, you tell me. Yeah, it's scary.
The nature of reality...
Go ahead.
Should it be comprehended that perhaps, maybe somehow, and it's hard to imagine, but when we think to ourselves, when we lay down to bed, we're closing the page. Like we're closing the book. The day is over, thank goodness. We made it through another day, you know, and I'm excited about tomorrow, that kind of thinking, maybe if you're optimistic. But what if you didn't? What if it never stops? What if you never sleep? Like, not really. Like, you just pass it over to something else. And another aspect of yourself, as far as what is reality, it never seems to end. It's an unbelievable concept that the idea of there was never an ending and never a beginning, and I went reverse there, but never a beginning, never an end, and then never a closing chapter per se, and that there could be, we talk about these multiverses. When you go to sleep, what are you looking at? You're looking at multiverses of yourself in all those realities. You've seen yourself in 5 or 6 different multiverses, you know, in a night. Many people who have ever recalled their dreams, like I had one, you'll hear people tell you, like, it started out this way, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then I don't remember anymore, and then I woke up. Or I woke up and this incredible thing was happening, or this horrible thing was happening, or whatever. It seems like it never ends. Top to bottom, side to side. The nature of reality is not, it's endless. It's like infinity. And to fathom the idea that when you go outside every day and look at the earth under your feet and all around you, that it never wasn't there. Maybe it looked different. Maybe it was a different shape. Maybe the atmosphere was different. Maybe the composition was slightly different, but the energy never ended. That's no new age BS. That's reality. That's the nature of reality. And if you look out into space and see that it goes on for infinity, expanding further into infinity, and you're existing in it somehow, and that your conception of it and your consciousness of it in your dream state and your waking state, you're only aware of so much at a time because your brain can't process it and exist and do what it needs to do. So you do it by the way that you process and do what they need you to do is shutting it down. It's been said before, and it's absolutely true, that if you were aware of all of it, maybe that's what they're afraid of, but if you were aware of the whole picture, that while you're asleep, it's not ended, it's not rest. A part of you is fighting some kind of battle. A part of you is engaging in some kind of activity. Something very important, just as important as this one, just as important as this reality, just as important, which is unbelievable. To imagine that what if what's happening in your dreams is just as important as what's happening in your waking life? And if the past before, well, now I'm just rambling on, but if the past before you were born is no different from whenever you die to move on, and if when you're awake, it's no different than when you were asleep. No different.
Sublime rambles. Hey, look, isn't it? It's kind of nice, though, isn't it, to just ramble a little bit? It's you're onto a lot of things, and I again, so many people appreciate you and the take you bring, myself included, of course. And well, I don't know. I think there's a lot to it. And what if that is the case? What if the amnesia we have is our dream amnesia, and it is just as equally important as the life we live in the real world? And even, how about this? What if there's a way to reverse those two things, and you remember mostly only your dream states, and then you forget your like 9-to-5 job? How sick would that be?
If?
Let's reverse that shit.
Think about that. Think about that, Mike. Like, okay, the amnesia thing. Can you tell me right now what happened 4 days ago?
Oh shit! What day was that? What day was
exactly?
Let me check the calendar. I need to jog my memory.
How about 73 days ago?
I don't fucking know. I have no idea.
Right.
I don't know.
And there will be things people will tell you, and nobody can. That's the thing. Nobody could tell you that. So amnesia is relative about what you remember, what you don't. Like, it's even possible somebody could tell you a memory that it happened. We did this and that. Remember when we went to Fazoli's and you don't remember? You know what I mean?
I have that happen to me from time to time. Somebody be like, remember when? And I'm like, I'm like,
exactly. I was relating a real experience. Like, I didn't go to Fazoli's.
Totally.
Yeah.
Hey,
but I did, apparently.
Yeah, I guess.
You know?
Everybody else remembers it, so yeah, totally. Real quick, Sherry adds in the chat over on Rockfin, it's your subconscious. It's you. Everything is happening at once. There you go. There's a quintuple mindfuck while we're in the mindfucks. We may as well just get into the weeds of the mindfucks, because why not? Wild stuff. I don't know, Jennifer. Is there... I think you may be onto something. I think that dream state is probably more important than we give it credence. And if somebody tapped into that a long time ago, and I don't know, maybe tinkered under the hood of humanity, maybe we're missing the forest for the trees in a very, very bad way. And I don't know. How do we fix it, I guess, is the question. Robert also adds, Jennifer has sent my mind swimming. There it is.
I don't know. It seems simple enough. It seems like what they say, the best process for, I don't know. I don't want to recommend this lucid dreaming thing. I don't know if I should, I don't, because they say it's good for you, and they say that it can also be bad for you, but I think that people should do what they want to. And you have the capability of tapping into, like, when you go to bed tonight, like, when people go to bed, it may make a lot of people nervous. It makes me a little nervous. I'm just saying it, and I'm like, I don't know, I feel nervous about it, but like, when you go to bed, you can be like, it's weird, but because it happens, because I've done it myself. You tell yourself, like, I'm going to remember when I wake up in the morning what I dreamed about. I'm going to remember. And strangely enough, you'll remember something strange, like, oh yeah, there was like this house with a hill or something. And that's all I can remember. And then the next night, you're like, I'm going to remember more. Remember, it runs in 5-hour cycles. It's just a heads up. That's what they say. So, like, if you even set an alarm after 5 hours of being asleep, if you're very serious, but you don't even have to be that serious. But if you just tell yourself, I'm going to wake up, or I'm going to remember this or that, truly enough, oddly enough, you do. And then the next day, you're like, I don't just remember a house and a hill. I remember that there was somebody there. And then the next night, you're like, I'm going to remember more, When I wake up, I'm going to remember what I dreamed about. I'm going to remember everything I can, and I'm going to remember what happened. And then you remember, because you're consciously thinking about it, that not only was there a house on a hill and a person there, but they had red hair. And it builds. And then the next day, that simple little thing, I remember what I dreamed about. There was a house on the hill, somebody with red hair, and they told me something. And it goes like that. And bit by bit, you're beginning to remember more and more. after about like a week of that, you get tired of doing it and you forget to do it, and then that's it.
Yeah. Speaking of the individual with red hair, the Night Stalker in the chat says a lot of indigenous tribes believed the dream realm was the real world, and the real world was the dream. So they would start every day in a circle, retelling all their dreams to come up with the similarities and messages. There you go. And shout out Gingers. Shout out to the Gingers. There you go. The red hairs
there
of the dreams. Also, real quick, James is the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, and Derek is the Lovelock giant of Troubled Minds. What's up? Shout out Gingers. Sorry if you don't get the reference. Lovelock Cave, Nevada, giant red-headed cannibals. We'll just skip the cannibal part. Sorry, Derek. Anyway, so I interrupted you. Sorry, Jen. Go right ahead.
I don't know. I thought someone was going to say something, and I was like, yes, but yeah, I think it seems like that. You know, it seems like, what if we are dreaming right now? Because the people who were very actively doing it, they began to get confused about it. That freaks me out so much. That people who were doing what I just said, but they did it for months and months and months. And they did it with eye masks, and they did it with lights flashing and things like that. To imagine that they began to not be able to tell the difference. And they'd have to remind themselves in the waking world that this is the waking world. I have a little sign that I give myself. Like Inception, it's a spinning top. Because a top is bound to fall over, but Inception, the idea was that the top would keep spinning. And so they use that as a signal. But you'll see people you know, your family, your intimate relations, in a dream, and something's going down. Sometimes it'll pick up, like, say in a dream you go to a restaurant. I've heard this before. I've done this before. I've gone to a restaurant in a dream, and then dreamed a year later, and I remember that I went to the same restaurant in a dream, but it doesn't exist in the real world. You know, and that there's something going on there. But like I said, like, I think if you were somebody who, if everyone was, what would happen if everyone was like, I'm going to consciously dream? I don't think anything would blow up. I think it'd be perfectly safe. But if you think about it, if everybody was consciously like, I remember my entire sleep cycle and what happened in it, or what was going on, and then you wake up, and if you had kept a journal, for example, a lot of people talk about dream journals. What if your dream journal matched your day journal of equal amount of information?
Or if it was like literally inverse, right? So it's like your boring 9-to-5 shit is like, it has to be balanced by the dream world, and that's why you're like slaying demons, flying with wings, and like that, right? You're like, hey, in my dream, I killed an entire zombie horde with a dagger. In the other world, I pulled some weeds and I went to work. Like when I made dinner.
I don't know.
Like it has to
I don't know, but what's weird though, it's funny as hell, but I'll tell you, like, when they hook you up to electrodes and everything, the brain doesn't even know. We think we know. We think we're better than our dreaming self. We think that our existence is like more important than our dreaming existence, but it doesn't know the difference. The brain can't tell. And the brain thinks what it did when it slayed those demons or whatever, it really happened. You know, like, that's unbelievable. And that's just according to like the electrodes. Like the brain is firing, but it's paralyzed the lower portion of the body, so it can't actually do the activity that it's doing. There have been instances where the sleeper, have you heard of? Okay, there's sleepwalking, one, but there have been more extreme versions of that, where the person, when they went to sleep, they just would literally jump up, and like an extreme version of it, and had to take medication to like stop it, because they were acting out in their physical bodies what they were dreaming. And so if you think about that, like, the brain, you may be doing some crazy things, and believe me, I have done the same thing, like unbelievable things, like, you know, like gladiator, like fights to the death in the sand of like a sand pit. Like, I'm not kidding, like, literally. And
Right.
like that's unbelievably absurd, because the brain itself, though, can't tell the difference. The brain thinks I did that. Somewhere deep in its subconscious, it thinks it did it. Even though your reality is like, I couldn't do that, and you couldn't. You absolutely couldn't. But somehow, in that state, you did. And it doesn't, in the wholeness of the entirety of yourself, did do it. Because in the dream, it wouldn't have done it if it couldn't do it. You would have dreamed something else, I would assume. So there's something going on there where the brain, in the brain, this thing about the brain, I swear there's something so serious about it, but it can't tell the difference. And it's just us as like the brain's its own little thing, and we're like a little aspect of it, imagining what we are and what we're not. We're the ones who shrink ourselves. You know, we're the ones who are cowed down. Like, something inside of ourselves doesn't even know what that means. Doesn't even know what it means. Because when they dream, they're doing so many other things. And so this is some little so I do wonder what little portion this is compared to the big picture. But we take it all with us when it's over, whatever it is.
Yeah, which is triple screwed up is what I'm talking about. I don't know. Then again, like I said, it's only Tuesday. We're talking about the nature reality. I do like, and I think we should probably do this as a future show. Like and this is why this community is amazing, right? Just tonight, and I probably missed a bunch too. Actually, I got 3 ideas for shows right now. Right, 3 of future shows. One, Joseph in Iowa called in and said, "Hey, what about like a sort of an ad block for like this dream state, ad block dream state?" That, holy fuck, right? Another one, Derek said, shit, I lost it. And then what you just said, I lost it too. I don't know. I'm confused. But I got 3 ideas will come to me. Your idea was the reciprocal dream state, in that our regular life, as mundane as it is, it has to have sort of like a ridiculous version of ourselves to balance that out. And let's say we are James Bond in this life. Let's say we're like living that like spy MI6 life or whatever the hell's going on. Would
Like
that mean
Total Recall.
would that mean our dreams are more tame? Would it mean we're more tame or not? Or like, you know what I mean, in the dreams? I don't know. And then what's the other one? Derek said, Derek, the other one, what did he say? Derek had a couple. Sigil magic and QR codes. I'm telling you, like, that's just in a cursory like thought process of me. Like it's hard. You guys know words are hard. Get up here for 3 fucking hours and talk, and like try and keep like a coherent something going, and then also like recall back what happened an hour ago. Like Jen said, what happened 4 days ago? I don't fucking know, but I'm trying really hard to remember an hour ago. So here we are. Anyway. Just shows on top of shows on top of shows. They just keep kind of popping on. Yeah. Great ideas. Is the recurring theme. Yeah. Let's wind this down, Jen. Let's get the hell out of here. I appreciate you dipping back in. Thank you so much. Also to you and Joseph again and James for being Johnny on the spot as always. James, do you have anything for Jennifer? Well, we got you guys both on for a sec here.
Yeah. I do like the idea that, and I've kind of thought this over the years, that when we're asleep, we are accessing some other universe version of ourselves. Possibly in some cases, I feel like, and I've talked about that before, I've had a couple of experiences with that. You know, where I had one dream one time where I was with my mom, my then stepdad, or he was former stepdad, and my half sister, their daughter. But in this world, there was 3. They had 3 daughters, not the one. And we were all still in the same house that we're not in anymore. And, you know, they're divorced now. My mom and you know, my half-sister's dad. So it is not anywhere near this reality. But it felt real. I felt like I knew all 3 of them. And it wasn't weird being in that house until after I started to wake up. So I do feel like, I think there's all different kinds of things that can happen when you're, I think there are probably still some dreams that are more just us, our internal, just ourselves, just processing things. But I don't think, again, I think there are so many different things, so many different types of dream states even, and so many things that can happen in dreams. And again, how one can flow into another, and I think different kinds of experiences can move from one to another. So I do like the idea that really if this kind of technology is put in place, I feel I agree that, you know, we have enough power somehow in among all of the versions of ourselves that it wouldn't work necessarily the way they want it to, and I like that.
I do too. I like what he said. I think that that's true. I think that they could do nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, not against, like, if a dreamer realized it was dreaming, but if a consciousness realized it was dreaming, like he just mentioned, and if there was something that was trying to get a reaction or implant an idea, I think it would be, like, impossible, possibly dangerous. And possibly it is very dangerous work on some psychic level for these individuals who might be working on this to even engage in this type of activity. Because have you ever woken up from a dream exhausted or felt like you've been in a car accident or something? Because I have, like, where it feels like you didn't sleep at all. Like, it feels like, oh, God, you know, like, you've been through something unbelievable. And there's nothing probably happened. Maybe you just slept unwell. But probably not. Like, if this whole thing is real, then there probably is a lot of engagement going on.
Yeah, I believe that. I've had that where I've woken up and I feel like I just went through, even if I don't remember any of the dreams like you were mentioning, I feel like I've just been through some kind of event that was really, really tiring in one way or another. And so I believe that is possible.
Yeah, you know what's fascinating, real quick, Jen, about what you said? You said engagement. That was another idea for a show. Dream engagement, meaning that we talk about digital engagement, right? Like if you give them the frowny face or the mad face, it's like 5 points to Facebook for the additional engagement, right? Because you've pissed somebody off. So it's like, oh, people are going to click this, right? I wonder what dream engagement means versus that.
We need an experiment. We need to be like I'm going to meet you on the corner of 5th and 23rd over here at this coordination. And I'm going to give you a yellow daffodil or something, and you're going to be like, and then an envelope. What's in the envelope? You know? And because this has actually been done. That's been done in, like, clinical studies. You know? Like, that's, like, we're not going to do it. But, like, it's, like, really interesting to imagine that they've coordinated. How doesn't that not bother anybody? Like, that they were that serious about it? Because it bothers the hell out of me. Like, that the government and the scientists were like, we're going to take this extremely serious, you know?
Yeah, again, back to Stargate Project. Look it up. Joe McMoneagle and Ingo Swann are the two most famous actual remote viewers in the CIA remote viewing program. If you don't believe me, rewind what I just fucking said. Stargate Project, Joe McMoneagle, Ingo Swann. Look it up. There are more remote viewers that they use. There's more people. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that Irving Child.
Yes.
Irving Child was doing a lot of that with the dream state stuff. Really super creepy.
Super double, triple creepy. All right, let's get to the lot here. You're the best, Jennifer. As always, you guys know the drill, right? These amazing folks that make troubled minds world go round and blow up our brains on a nightly basis. Jennifer here has a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to her channels. Links in the description down below. James here, James of Salcedo Paranormal, the paranormal expert of troubled minds. We're gonna get you as an expert, Jennifer. I'm gonna describe you as a troubled minds expert in something, but you're too good at too many things, so I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to be creative here, but we'll get something. So please give both of them a follow down below. Derek, everybody else, like Tam Bam, what's up? Tam Bam just showed up in the chat over there on Rockfin. All the folks, Daryl here. Thanks for being part of this, Daryl. You got anything to add, Daryl, before we bounce?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. Like, how could you market this? Like, you could start getting a dream menu that you could pay for, or you could get points. If you give, you can give a good dream, or you can demand a good dream, or you can demand, like a dream menu and market that. It would be like this a dreamscape where you could like accomplish all these things of your dreams, make your dreams come true. Or you want to like a supernatural part or a magic part that you could add, so you can actually request to see, your loved ones. A request to visit like a person in history. You want to see Abraham Lincoln or Jesus or something, and they can make that happen. It would probably be semi-metaverse, semi-dreamscape, dreamvertisement that you could actually, pay for pay-per-view or something like that,
Yeah, that's full on Total Recall. From Philip K. Dick, we can remember it for you wholesale. that's full.
Yeah,
right.
You could get and then you could get a package. You could buy like 10, and you get 2 free.
You buy 2 historical trips, you get a trip to Mars for free.
Exactly. You want to walk on the moon. It depends on the tree. And some of the more expensive ones would be like interplanetary travel. They could do a lot of good simulations, or, maybe really, make it kind of remote view happen, or give you an astral experience. Maybe you take a little ayahuasca before you go to bed, and you can actually dream, a spiritual experience, or see God. Those would be more expensive. And then, there'd be simple ones like winning the lottery or something, whatever, they could be priced accordingly, and they can, be based on your income too. They have a special, for middle class. And, they have a special.
Daryl's already setting out the pricing schedule.
Yeah, a pricing guide.
All right, perfect. As always, look guys, as you notice, if you've been listening to this show, there's a bunch of amazing people that make this and make the Troubled Minds world go round. I said round, and because the logo is round, the little alien head. But thank you so much. Please give all of them a follow. So many amazing thoughts, so many amazing people here. Let's do it. Let's get the hell out of here. I don't know if anybody has like an outro. APOC, it says Daryl with the comic relief. Amen to that. Anybody got an outro thought here as we roll? I'm going to smash the button and see if we got some thoughts. If you don't, that's okay.
We got the one from last night that we didn't use.
Is that all right? I'm playing the thing. You want to dig it out, James? You want me to dig it out? I can do it. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You tell me. Here's the way this goes, right? Thank you again to Daryl for hanging out for so long and being patient with us. Thank you to Jennifer for dropping back in, and Joseph also for dropping back in for the 3rd hour and keeping us going. Thank you to James for just Johnny on the spot as always, and being the glue of the show and all the rest of that. And as it finishes, let's go like this. This is a James Tro. The James Tro goes like this, which I fucked up last night, by the way. This is my fault. I was supposed to do this one last night. James had it last night for us, but it fits tonight. Go right ahead, James.
Consciousness is a singular for which there is no plural. By Erwin Schrödinger.
Boom. That's pretty sick. And there it goes. That's what we finish. Thank you again. Please follow all the amazing folks who are part of this show that show up and hang on every rambling word of mine, which seems fucking mind-boggling to me, to be perfectly honest, right? It's like, hey, who gives a shit what I have to say? Well, apparently, when it's sort of open-ended and non-linear, it's a lot. It's fascinating and fun, and thank you again. Please follow all these amazing people. Links are in the description below. Just go smash all the like buttons and follows and all the rest of that. Support them, all the rest. Let's get out of here. Thank you so much. I can't say thank you enough. I promise you I'm not running for office yet. And, I'd say that only half in jest. If I could wink, I would wink. There you go. There's your wink. Let's get that out of here. Get the hell out of here. What's up, Larry? I see you in the chat. Larry found us from Facebook. He came over to YouTube. Larry's been around for a long time. All right, let's GTFO. All right, so as it goes, if you want to help the show, there are a number of ways. You can sub up on Rockfin. You can sub up on Patreon. You can sub up on what's the other one? Twitch. If you don't want to spend money, that's totally cool. I understand that you don't want to or you don't have it. Perfectly fine. You got time, right? You're listening to us and hanging out with us. I appreciate that a lot. You can spread the word. Also, you can listen to the podcast feed, Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. It's completely free, 100% free. There's some ads baked in. Please let the ads play, because if you skip them, it knows it's keeping track of you, and it doesn't send me a penny for the ad you skip. So please let those ads play while you're cooking dinner or something. Put on an Old Trouble Mind show. We just broke on the RSS feed. That's the podcast feed. Over 400 episodes of Troubled Minds. Can you fucking believe that? 4 years, 400 episodes, and there's probably another 250 that aren't on there. So sick. The world is so sick. All right, it's a sick place, and I'm glad you guys are here experiencing it with me and us. So let's get out. It goes like this. As we finish, anybody want to do it? I can do it.
You sure? You strong? You sure?
Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. 7 p.m. Pacific, Wednesday show, and you never know who might show up. Hint, 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 hint. Oh!
Yeah.